The Major's best team at home, the 26-11 Atlanta Braves, look for another win at Turner Field as they battle the first-place Diamondbacks on a beautiful Saturday for baseball. From Turner Field in Atlanta, it's time for Braves baseball. Another big crowd filing in. Many already here to see the old-timers game. That was an awful lot of fun, and more fun to follow. The Diamondbacks and Braves, two first-place clubs, lock up in Game 2 here this afternoon. Hi again, friends. Chip and Joe back with you. What a night for the Braves last night. They handed the Diamondbacks their first shutout of the season. It was a 3-0 final score, and great starting pitching by Julio Toronjo, and that's really been the modus operandi for the Braves the last month.
Yeah, the good pitching is certainly no surprise, and while we talk all the time and lament about the fact that the Braves offense is kind of hit or miss, and certainly from the home runs and strikeouts, that's what I think the team is going to live with this year. The pitching has been steady and constant all year long. Take a look at these numbers for the Braves starters this month alone. They're first in ERA, strikeouts, walks per 9 innings, which is huge for this ball club to not put extra guys on base. Quality starts, tied for first, and just doing a wonderful job all over, up and down the starting rotation.
Those are our Ram Trucks power stats, and as good as the starters have been, it's even more remarkable how good the bullpen has been, considering, Joe, who's been lost to injury for the relief corps.
When you lose guys like O'Flaherty and Venters, sometimes it takes you a while to find roles for people and how they're going to settle in. But the Braves bullpen has not missed a beat because they're solid at the end of the bullpen with Kimbrel certainly, but Jordan Walden has stepped in the 8th, Avilon in the 7th. And take a look at these numbers for the Braves relievers all season long. ERA, whip, home runs per 9 innings, and hits per 9 innings. This bullpen has been the best in baseball.
Well, let's hope the Braves can whip the Diamondbacks for a second straight day. A 3-0 final last night. Tim Hudson would love to get 3 runs of support. Let's see if that can happen for the Braves veteran right-hander here in Atlanta. Time for a Tim Hudson win at home. He'll face off against Ian Kennedy in Game 2 next. T. Ubers. by Delta Airlines and by Ford. We're back in Atlanta. It's the Braves and the Arizona Diamondbacks here at Turner Field. And a special start to the day. This weekend-long celebration of Braves baseball has just been outstanding with the ceremonies last night. Chipper Jones' number retirement. And it was Team Smoltz, Joe, versus Team Bream in the old-timers game.
Marvin Freeman started for Team Smoltz and promptly gave up back-to-back home runs to Team Bream. But the Smoltz team, which was apparently hand-picked by John Smoltz, he had the first draft rights, came back and won the game.
You know, the more you see John's home run trot, the more it reminds you of Babe Ruth, doesn't it?
Yeah, just wave his little hat.
And then he almost killed Alex Wood.
Yeah.
The ceremony.
Be afraid to lighten up, put a little arc on it.
So off we go. It's game 2. Nice crowd gathering on a sunny afternoon here in downtown Atlanta. Look at the Diamondbacks starting lineup. Kirk Gibson's their skipper. They were shut out for the first time this season last night. Gerardo Parra leads off their Toyota starting 9. Martin Prado bats and plays second. Talked about Paul Goldschmidt in the pregame show. He's their first baseman. Eric Chavez, the cleanup man. Miguel Monteros behind the plate with Kubel, A.J. Pollock in center. Didi Gregorius, the young shortstop, hits 8th. And Ian Kennedy, back from suspension, is the Diamondbacks pitcher.
Tim Hudson makes his 17th start, 37 years old, 6'1", 175. He has been terrific here at Turner Field, 3-0 with a 2.22 ERA. Can't explain any of that stuff on the road. Hard to figure. But it also is hard to figure how he has had a tough time in the month of June winning because he's pitched so brilliantly. His 4 keys to pitching success today: keep on trucking. He is really pitching great. He's just not getting any results because he's getting 0 run support. And he is having a great month. Really, he really is. The month of June, he's 0-3 with a 1.82 ERA, 0.8 runs of support in the month of June. There you see it right there. And how about this? 34 2/3 innings pitched this month. He's given up 1 homer. Get the guy some runs.
I'm with you.
Hey.
Let's get some runs.
Thank you.
Yes. Gerardo Parra is ready to lead off for the Diamondbacks. Their lead in the West trimmed to 2.5 games with their shutout loss last night. The Padres are in second place behind the Diamondbacks. And a quick strike gets the game started for Hudson. 87 degrees at 4:08. It's our first pitch time and temp. And a slow roller left side. Simmons charges, gloves, fires on the run, and got him by a quarter step. Parra can't believe it. 1 out.
That was a tough play for Anderson to make, but he made it. I thought that was one of those that you'd see Chris Johnson cut across and get him, but Chris obviously decided there was no way he was going to get to the ball. Nice play by Simmons.
And listen to this crowd in Atlanta as they welcome Martin Prado to the plate again.
And Tim Hudson doing a nice thing.
And give Martin credit, too. He didn't take the helmet off when he tipped his cap. He just touched the brim. Prado at 243 for the Diamondbacks. That's got to make him feel great. When you're an opposing player and you come back to your former baseball residence and get greeted like he did, that's awfully impressive.
You know why? You know why they respond that way?
In the air to center. And Upton's got that. 2 outs.
Because there was never any doubt, anytime Martin was on the field, that he wasn't giving you absolutely everything he had that day. He played the game right. He played it hard. And Atlanta fans see that right away. They recognize it. They're good, knowledgeable baseball fans.
And Arizona very happy to have Martin Prado. They've locked him up to a well-deserved long-term contract. And He's hitting today in front of Paul Goldschmidt, the Diamondbacks' first baseman. Already a pretty formidable tandem for the National League All-Star team, if it turns out to be Votto and Goldschmidt 1-2 at first base. And there was a time just a couple short years ago that Arizona wasn't sure if this guy was going to be a franchise player for them. They were hot and heavy after Paul Konerko. In fact, Arizona placed a waiver claim on Konerko for the White Sox. And while the teams were trying to work out a deal, Chicago said, we want Goldschmidt in return. And Arizona said, we'll stick with the young player, and it's really worked out well for him.
Sure has. That was a good decision. Another one of those, sometimes the best trades are the ones you don't make. He's a good first baseman, too.
And Tim Mislow outside. Goldschmidt walks. Tim looks in at Brian Onora, and he wants an explanation. 2-out walk.
We heard a stat yesterday on Goldschmidt, and I don't know where you find such things, but that he has more 3 unassisted plays at first base by far over any other first baseman, because he doesn't like to toss the ball to the pitcher. He said, why should I and risk a bad toss if I can beat the runner to the bag?
Pretty smart. Eric Chavez, former teammate of Tim Hudson's with the A's. Eric was just activated off the disabled list yesterday, and his good fortune was bad news for former Brave Eric Hinsky, who was designated for assignment before the game started last night.
Yeah, I hated that for Eric, coming back to Atlanta himself.
Runner goes. The pitch a strike. The throw to second is late. And Goldschmidt has 8 stolen bases this year. He's in scoring position for Chavez with 2 outs.
I think a lot of teams ignore him. I think he got ignored right here. He got a huge jump on Tim Hudson. And when you don't pay attention, big guy can run.
Arizona doesn't run much. It's only their 24th steal as a team. They've been caught 21 times. Fly ball to right will chase Hayward back a few steps. He'll have plenty of room shy of the track. And Tim Hudson off to a good start. A 12-pitch first inning. And the Braves come up against Ian Kennedy in the middle of the first inning. Now let's see if the bats can go to work against Ian Kennedy. The Toyota starting lineup today has Andrelton Simmons leading off. Jason Hayward's having a hot month of June. Justin Upton, Freddie Freeman, and Brian McCann, the thumpers in the middle. Dan Douglas at second base. B.J. Upton's in center. Chris Johnson at third base, and Tim Hudson locking horns with Arizona righty Ian Kennedy.
Ian Kennedy's 28 years old, 6 feet 190 out of Huntington Beach, California, and University of Southern California. He makes his 15th start today, and he has been on the road a lot. 9 road starts. Today marks the 6th straight start for him on the road, where he's gone 1-1 and a 6.14 ERA over those 6 starts. His 4 keys to pitching success today, well, he's always been a guy that pitches inside, and it always gets him in trouble, it seems like, especially where the Los Angeles Dodgers are concerned. He has hit 8 batters this year so far, but that's one of the things that he has to do. And we just told you about him having to work on the road a lot. That's why he's given up a ton of home runs on the road. 14 in all, 11 away from Chase Field.
Which is really weird because his home park is a great home run hitter's park. And so his first pitch since coming back from his 10-game suspension is a ball to Andrelton Simmons. It makes you wonder what kind of command, what kind of control, what kind of stuff he'll have after this long layoff.
Well, you would assume he would have pitched on a regular turn, let's say, to stay sharp. It's not the same as pitching to live hitters, though.
And that one good enough. Strike 1 to Simmons. Hamilton led off last night, and among his 4 at-bats, he had a 5th inning solo home run. And a bouncing ball to third. Chavez loads up, and Goldschmidt the stretch. Hamilton's retired for the first out.
Kennedy's a good pitcher and has been a good pitcher over the last 3 years or so for the Diamondbacks. Finished high in the voting for the Cy Young Award a couple of years ago. So this year at 3-4 and a 4.81 ERA. Not a whole lot unlike Tim Hudson in that his numbers are a little deceiving.
Jason Hayward bats with bases empty and 1 out. He brings a 3-game hit streak into play tonight. And like so many of these Diamondback starters, Joe, Kennedy is not a homegrown product. They acquired him via trade.
Started in the Yankee organization.
The trade was another 3-team deal. Edwin Jackson went to the Diamondbacks from the Tigers. Max Scherzer and Daniel Schlereth went to Detroit. Curtis Granderson went to the Yankees, and Austin Jackson also ended up in Detroit. Two balls and a strike.
Good sink on that fastball at 92. Sinker, slider, changeup, fastball in the low 90s. Good stuff. There's a slow curve occasionally too.
And he has his first full count of the day to Jason Hayward. Justin Upton's next. And that's fouled off Montero behind the plate.
Kennedy beat the Braves for one of his wins back on May 15th out in Phoenix, but he only went 5 innings. He gave up 4 hits and 3 walks, only 2 earned runs, struck out 7.
Fly ball left near the line. Chavez, Gregorius, and the third baseman and shortstop don't communicate, and the ball drops into foul ground. And you can see the shoulders of Kennedy slump as that play wasn't made.
Got a little bit of breeze blowing that kept this from getting in the stands. It's pushing out toward right field, and it looked like Chavez was there, but he heard some footsteps and quit on it. Hard to tell if Gregorius called for it or not. But a break for Jason Hayward.
Ruled no play, so no error. And a swing on the house for Hayward. And that's rifled down the right field line. Hayward's got at least 2. And he'll stop at second. Ball played well by Parra in the right field corner. So instead of a second out, Hayward has a 2-base hit.
That's nothing new this month. That's his 7th double in the month of June. He had 2 each in April and May, and whistled this one right down the line.
An early run or 2 for Tim Hudson would be fantastic.
Oh, he'd be doing a Martin Prado dance in the dugout of some kind.
And here's just the man to do it. Justin Upton. 3 hits in his last 3 games, a .242 mark. This was the daily double that clicked in the first inning last night. A 1-out double by Hayward. Upton singled up the middle and made it 1-0 for Julio Teheran. Upton got smoked. There's Kennedy pitching inside like you said he has to do, and he drilled Justin Upton with 1 out.
Well, that didn't take long. That looked like that was right in the kidney.
So that leads to the obvious question. Is this man's reputation beginning to change in baseball because of the number of hit batsmen, because of the ugly incident on the 11th day of this month?
I think the scrutiny he's under right now just kind of blows it up even bigger than it might be because of that fight, Chip. But everybody paying attention to it now because it brought such attention to Ian Kennedy. So whereas everybody might have in the past said, well, hey, the guy just pitches inside and sometimes the ball gets away from him. Now all of a sudden it's, well, maybe it's not always by accident.
Two balls, no strikes. Hayward doubled. Justin, his former teammate in Arizona, the first man he hits in today's game. And that sets things up for Freddie Freeman, who loves hitting against the Diamondbacks. Let's go back to June 11th. This all started in the 6th inning when Kennedy grazed Puig. Then Montero was thrown at 3 times by Greinke. Then Kennedy hit Greinke in the bottom of the 7th inning, and for the second time the bench is cleared, and for the second time it got ugly.
It sure did. Way out of hand.
And out of that incident there were 12 people suspended. Kennedy got 10 games. Fly ball left. Kubel has plenty of room, and Freddie Freeman is the second out. Arizona's a good defensive ball club. They've got Martin Prado in for Aaron Hill today. Again, Hill just back from injury, so Prado gets to play second base for the Diamondbacks. He started for them at third base in game 1. Two on, 2 out for Brian McCann. were so many things to break down in that ball with the Dodgers. What I read, what most players took exception to, is the fact that the two hit batsmen, the pitches were up and above the shoulders.
Right. Don Mattingly especially.
Puig got hit in the nose, and Greinke up on the left shoulder. McCann rolls out to Prado at second, and the Braves are out of luck in the first inning. Interesting opening frame. Still no score as we head to inning number 2. Here in Atlanta before the ball game, and that's our SunTrust shining moment. The Braves out on the Fan Plaza introduced a new memorial diamond to honor the deceased Atlanta alumni and Braves Hall of Fame members. What a wonderful gesture. And here to tell us about this wonderful celebration of Braves baseball this weekend, cue the Hail to the Chief music, the president of the Braves, John Schwartz.
Thank you, Chip. Yeah, it's a wonderful day for us to be able to unveil our new memorial diamond. This is the fitting time, our weekend for Hall of Fame induction for Chipper and retirement of his number, and to have so many alumni here to celebrate that and support that. And so as we celebrate and honor what Chipper has done for this organization and welcome our alumni to celebrate it with them, we too wanted to find a way to memorialize and remember forever the people who put on our uniform and have worked in the organization so significantly that they're in our Hall of Fame, whether they're players or managers or coaches or executives or scouts or whatever they may be. We thought this was a fitting thing to do, and this the perfect weekend to do it.
I know this was something really important to you, that near and dear to your heart. What gave you the idea for it?
Well, actually, it's a wonderful idea. I'd like to take credit for it, but one of our staff members, Kim Childress, mentioned to my assistant she had this idea. And my assistant brought it to me, and I thought right away, I said, this is a wonderful idea. We always send mementos. We always send regrets and condolences to families who lose a member of the Braves organization. But it's not long-lasting. This is forever lasting. And it also will allow fans who come to our ballpark, as they walk around on the plaza prior to the game and they see the memorial diamond and they see the brick with that particular player's name on it, and remember father and son there. Oh, remember we saw him play and how good he was and how much fun we had at that game, and so on and so forth.
Beautiful play by Freddie Freeman. Tim Hudson got to the bag, and that's out number 1.
I think you're exactly right. I think when I see something in a book, I see something written, I see something tangible in front of me, it brings back a thought of when I saw that player play, or I watched that player play somewhere on TV or something. When I see it, that's when it clicks, that memory comes back.
And as well, we're also going to provide the families with replica bricks. So they'll have a memento in their home. We send flowers, and they last for a short while, but a brick will be there forever, a daily reminder of their loved one who had time with the Braves and the Braves organization and that relationship. And We just think it's a wonderful idea, and so we're glad to have unveiled it today.
And John, what a weekend for the organization. Quite obviously, Chipper Jones yesterday, and for you as the team president and former general manager of this club to have presided over this incredible run of excellence, to see another one of your players have his number retired here last night in Chipper Jones.
What a thrilling time. And for someone to play at that level of excellence for so consistently the number of years that he did it, and to be the guy for us in big games and to help us win as many division championships and big game titles, to be an all-star and to be an eventual National Baseball Hall of Famer, and to have his number retired, as appropriate as that is. It was a great day of celebration and respect for Chipper.
And it's, to me, so interesting how the baseball gods operate. Before the Braves got back to Atlanta, the last place we visited was Kansas City, where you also presided over an incredible run of excellence. And one of your dear friends and former players was George Brett, who's now the hitting coach there.
He's the hitting coach now, and he's also a great Hall of Famer. And in my life, I've been affiliated with a great third baseman, Brooks Robinson in Baltimore, George Brett in Kansas City, and now our all-star and eventual Hall of Famer, Chipper Jones. So I've been very fortunate. I've been with two great organizations that insisted on growing and developing their own players, and we did that in Kansas City. I learned it in Baltimore. We brought it to Kansas City with us, and we've done it here in Atlanta. Bobby and Stan Kasten and the others started before I got here, but we kept it going, and it's a way to build teams. It's a way to rely on your own homegrown products and not have someone else sign and develop people that you have to go outpay someone else to get on your team. Have your own players available to do that.
Can't argue with the results, that's for sure, in any of those places.
It's the most reliable formula for any team, any organization to use, and those that have adopted it and utilize it and stay the course with it and don't abandon it when things don't go exactly right, they're the ones that most consistently compete for championships, I think.
Maybe a tough question to ask you with two out. Looks like I'm going to have to wait for the next half inning. Can you stay another half inning?
Okay.
Because it's a really important question.
I'm sure.
Today, all year long, Braves baseball on Fox Sports South is being presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. The right stuff, the low price every day. Joe, you kept the audience on the edge of their seats during that last commercial break. What is this oh so important question?
I don't think anybody even went to the refrigerator. But if they did, the question is, first, how do you like this team? 2013 team.
I like our team. I said that in spring training. It's a team that would require, I thought, an extraordinary or longer period of time, I say not extraordinary, a longer period of time to blend and to mix, because making the dynamic changes that Frank Wren made, and with the kind of hitters that now come on board, more power capability, more power potential, more run producing potential, but this kind of lineup takes a little longer to gel and to mix, and I think it will be. And it's, we're still in first place by a considerable margin, and so it's done its job and quite well. And I think it will be better in the second half.
And with that in mind, for the second half, trade deadline approaching in a little over 30 days. There aren't that many holes to fill in this ball club, but is there room to make some changes budget-wise for the ball club if need be?
You're asking the president that question.
Yes, I am.
Yes, there is. Yes, there is. And Frank understands the responsibility of general managing is not just to pick the best players and see who the guys are you want to have on your team, but how do they fit? How does it work? You have to manage a budget while you're managing the player roster. Your player roster has to give you the wins, and you have to have the budget so you have the assets available to spend on the guys you want to accumulate. And Frank has been playing for that for a long time. Back to this winter, we've talked about that, and so there's plans in place, and we have the capability of being flexible.
Okay. That was what I had.
Yep. Thank you all very much.
You're welcome.
You were fantastic. Stop by any time.
I will, after we score a few.
There you go. That would be nice. Tim could use some run support. You ever see anything like Tim's gone through as far as pitching great and having nothing but bad luck?
I can't remember exactly, but I have. I've seen the bad luck pitcher. I've seen the guy that's had to wear it, so to speak, and not get the run support with a good offensive team. And Tim is experiencing it this year. But he's got broad shoulders, and he's a tough guy, and he's a veteran. He knows these things happen, and hopefully the cycle will balance out, and he'll start getting his run support over the rest of the year.
3 balls and a strike for B.J. Upton. And he'll take the walk with 1 out.
Last night was a very special night in a lot of different ways, but one of the things that I enjoyed as much as anything, John, was the way our fans reacted when Chipper acknowledged Martin Prado. Wasn't that something?
Yeah, I mean, Martin, everyone talks Martin is a favored teammate of most everyone who's played with him. And for the years he was here, Chipper was one of those guys that felt very strongly that way. And obviously the fans did too. And it was a nice acknowledgement on Chipper's part about how he personally felt about Martin. And Martin's a wonderful young man, and everybody likes him. And obviously the fans did too.
Chris Johnson has a big cut. Came up empty. Steve right 1. Got some good news. Washington lost again. Mets beat them 5-1 today at Citi Field. That was Dylan G's start for the Mets. So at the moment, the Braves have a 6-game lead in the East. Chance to extend it to 6.5. They can beat Arizona today. We're going to see the Phillies a lot, the Marlins a lot, and the Nationals a lot after the All-Star break.
As it should be, playing in your division,
right?
Playing in your division head-to-head with the teams. The Phillies perhaps aren't quite as where they want it to be, and the Nationals not either. But still, we know they're going to be there at the end of the year. We're going to have to play them, and playing them heads up gives us an opportunity to make our mark and stand our ground and maybe even improve it. And the Marlins are playing better now too after they had that opportunity to mix and blend and to get their feet under them. So. I don't think there's any easy teams in our division, so we're going to have our work cut out for us.
Marlins got a couple of pitchers back that they had to start the season without, including that Nathan Eovaldi.
Eovaldi's back, yep. And Jose Fernandez, a kid that we haven't seen, is compared to Matt Harvey of the Mets, similar stuff. 1 ball, 1 strike for Chris Johnson. And he rifles a base hit in the left field. So 2 are on for Tim Hudson with 1 out. And, John, to the state of the game, I'm always excited to see the standings. Some different teams at or near the tops of their respective divisions. Pirates have a 1-game lead over the Cardinals in the National League Central. The Padres are 2.5 games behind Arizona in the West. Baltimore's only 3.5 behind Boston. Cleveland's 2 behind the Tigers. Kansas City's only 5.5 back. And somehow, someway, Oakland's only a half game out of first out west.
Commissioner Seelig has a big smile on his face because he's been a proponent of parity and giving every team a chance and a fair hope, and the fans as well in each of those communities an opportunity to have a team that can legitimately battle for a division championship to get in the playoffs. And it seems as if that's beginning to happen more and more frequently. Those teams that have finished last are taking advantage of their drafting positions and being more aggressive in international signings and making better decisions in terms of the management of their organization and decisions about their team. So that's what baseball is. I mean, you have to assume that everybody's smart and working hard and has a plan, and if they have a few bucks to spend as well, you're going to have a lot of competition.
It's great to see. It really is fun to watch the standings change on a obviously daily basis, but from week to week, you don't know who's in first and who's not. That's great.
How do you like the game today, the way it's being played? And then I'll use the Braves as an example. A lot of power, a lot of strikeouts, but a team that can, hit 5 home runs a game, but not the team, let's say, that as old timers, and I'll include us both in that role.
Tim gets down the bunt, and it's perfect. Second and third one out.
And you know what I'm talking about. A little more speed.
Base to base baseball, advancing runners, hitting behind the
Today's
runner.
game.
To shorten up your stroke,
yeah.
Put the ball in play. I think those are still basic fundamentals, and you have to do those from time to time. But if you have a team that has a dynamic power component to it, you feel good about your chances of having that 3-run home run that turns a 1 or 2 run loss into a lead for you. And if you don't have that, you always have to be sure that those basic elements you're talking about, those fundamentals, are done perfectly all of the time to get the runners advanced, to get the guys on base. And so it's nice to have a power component. It makes the team look a little different, but I think it also gives you a little advantage. And again, I think as they mature and as they grow together well, our team, to speak specifically about our team, the Braves, will be better. We have those guys that can do that. They can hit behind runners. We can advance runners. We have some guys that are hurt now that we lost that we like to still have on our roster, but that's part of the game too. So I like what we have. I think we have a good blend of that, and it's nice to have guys that can pop the ball out of the ballpark for you.
Hamilton did that last night. He'd love a single with 2 outs. And it's popped out of play foul. 1 ball, 1 strike. But it does, as it always seems to in this game, come down to pitching. And Joe and I talked about it before the game. The Atlanta Braves have the lowest ERA in the National League. Bullpen's been outstanding considering all the injuries. And even if they hadn't had them, it's a remarkable job that group has done. And the starting pitching's been fantastic, too.
It always comes down to pitching, and it's been, I started with the Orioles, and it was pitching centric. In Kansas City, we were pitching and speed centric, and we've been pitching centric here. But you have to have offense, you have to have players. We've got, we think, the right combination, but pitching is the start of it. And our starting pitchers have done a remarkable job. We lost 2 key bullpen pieces with the injuries to Venters and O'Flaherty, but guys have come in and filled that gap very, very well. And of course, we have a dynamic closer in Kimbrel. So it's pitching for us too, and it's pitching. Every team who will be at the end near a chance to win a division, you'll say, has better pitching than the teams they played against, I believe.
This guy buzzes the tower more than Tom Cruise in Top Gun. I mean, he has already hit Justin Upton. He just sent Andrelton Simmons sprawling back.
Well, I said one of his keys to success is pitch inside ? Will he be willing to do that today after his 10-game suspension? I think he's answered that question.
Seems like it.
There's one way to answer that. 3 balls and a strike. He had a good cut. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Scoreless game. Braves again with 2 runners on and 2 out in the second.
Simmons is fun to watch every day, isn't he?
Oh, I love him. He's how about this? A major league game with 2 guys who were teammates on soccer teams and basketball teams in Curacao, Gregarious and Simmons, and it's a productive little island for baseball, Major League Baseball players.
And a swing and a miss. And that retires the side. John, congratulations on what continues to be one of the best weekends for Braves fans everywhere.
Thank you.
And on the Memorial.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Braves President John Schuerholz. We're through 2 and no score.
or excuse me, a hit batter and a walk. So they've had a couple of guys left on base, and it's Coors Light cold hard fact for Tim Hudson, and that is a cold hard fact. 1.7 runs per game for him per start since May 10th. That's brutal. And as we told you, in the month of June, it's even lower than that, 0.8.
Maybe everything's falling into place for Hudson today. He pitches great at home. He pitches great against the Diamondbacks. And he's through 2 scoreless innings so far today, with Didi Gregorius leading things off. Kennedy next, then Parra. One ball, one strike. Didi checked his swing.
As we just said, Gregorius and Simmons from Curacao, they played baseball together and those other sports that Mr. Sherholtz just mentioned. They each have 11 doubles. Gregorius 4 homers, Andrelton 6.
Guys, the traditional sports, they've argued about who was the better player. Didi apparently was a better basketball player. Andrelton played short while Didi was moved to second when they were youngsters. But they agree on this. Andrelton is a better marbles player. That's right, they play marbles down in Curacao on the dirt. He said he started with about 3 or 4. But when you play marbles and you win, you collect the opponent's marbles, as Andrelton was telling me. He said, now I have a huge bag full of marbles back home because I dominated everybody at school and everybody in our neighborhood, including Didi Gregorius.
So he obviously took his marbles and went home. You know, I want to know about that. I mean, what kind of marbles did they play with?
I lost mine years ago. I don't know anything about it.
Anybody could have asked me that about you.
Curacao Marble Company is well renowned.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
CMC.
But I've never heard of anybody playing marbles since, like, Leave It to Beaver. That's what surprised me.
Yeah, but you got to have a good shooter. And if you got a big shooter, you're in business.
Ian Kennedy is the Arizona pitcher, and pops one out of play, foul. 2 balls and a strike. Mets beat Washington. Dylan G got the win. The Phillies play the Dodgers later on tonight out west.
Boy, they pounded them last night, didn't they?
Beat them bad. 16-1 was the final score last night. Cliff Lee goes to the hill for the Phils tonight, looking for his 8th consecutive win. So as bad a luck as Cole Hamels has had for the Phillies, he's been the exact opposite. And that is, as I said last night, an intriguing team, if not a scary team, because of Hamels and Lee. They were hoping to get Carlos Zambrano, and he's having some shoulder discomfort in the minor leagues.
I'm not overlooking those guys.
I'm with
Nobody else should.
And Hudson just walked his opposing pitcher, Ian Kennedy. Second walk for Tim. This one comes with 1 out. Another big celebration of baseball coming your way over the 4th of July week. We'll have not 1 but 2 nights of post-game fireworks next week. And on the 4th of July, enjoy a special post-game performance by Georgia's own Corey Smith. Go to Braves.com/tickets or call 800-745-3000 for tickets today. The Marlins will be the opponents July 2, 3, and 4. Here's Parra. Simmons made a good play to get him by a stride to first.
He's got a good fastball today. He's been right around 90, 91, 92.
Gerardo a little late. No balls, 2 strikes. While much has been made of the Kennedy Dodger brawl, the genesis of it really involved Gerardo Parra. Back in September of 2011, he hit a home run against Clayton Kershaw, and the Dodgers thought he was showboating, dressed it up a little too much. And that's where a lot of the bad blood between the Dodgers and Diamondbacks began. So the question that those of us who never played always ask those who did is, what are those unwritten rules? How much is too much? Can you pitch inside? Can you admire a home run?
Well, that's been in existence since the game was created. People embarrassing or trying to show up another player. And anybody that tries to, I would say, abuse that unwritten rule, they're going to be reminded of it by somebody. And Parra's no different.
And the other part of the June 11th date was it was Miguel Montero who was in the batter's box. Greinke threw behind him once, missed, threw behind him a second time and missed, and then finally hit him with a third pitch.
See, and I think Greinke should have been thrown out right there, and that would have solved a lot of problems.
There was a rookie umpire behind the plate, Clint Fagan, who was one of the fill-in umpires for a vacationing major league umpire. So that might have been one of the issues.
That didn't help. With all due respect, I'm sure he's a very good umpire and was doing everything he knew to do. But after 3 attempts to hit Montero on the third one, I think that would have been enough for most umpires to say, you're gone.
And that's the other unwritten rule. If you take your shot and you miss, do you get one shot and it's over?
That's the fine print.
Right. The if you miss part?
Yeah.
Yeah. Two strikes to Martin. And a bouncing ball towards second. Ugla will flip to Simmons, and that retires the side. Kennedy walks, had to run the bases. Let's see if that has effect as Braves bat in the home third. Weekend long. This is maybe the best weekend to be a Braves fan because the alumni are here and everybody in Braves country remembers Mr. Greg Olson. Great plays behind the plate. And another great fan favorite as you see Greg's 1990 through 93 career with the Atlanta Braves. Made the All-Star team. And look at what he did in postseason play. Always great to be joined by Greg Olson and some other guy.
Some other guy.
There's some other guy up here just crawled in here with me.
You like the hat?
I love the hat. Look at the camera and show everybody your hat.
Look at that hat. That's a good hat.
That's because I got a little hair up here and you have zero.
Welcome back, Ole.
Well, it's great to be back. There's nothing better than coming back to Atlanta for this alumni weekend. See all the guys. You know, everybody always says, if you miss playing baseball, you really don't miss playing baseball. You just miss being around the guys.
Jason Hayward bats and takes inside. 2 balls, no strikes.
John, your controls are over here on this box.
Yeah. Thanks.
Adjust the volume.
This is a new gig for me here.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. I miss playing. Some of these contracts, you kidding me?
Did you put on a show again in the Old Timers game?
I did, unfortunately. I'm trying to take it easy on some of the guys, but I almost hit it out of the stadium.
I wish you'd have taken it easy on the left-handed reliever that you tried to kill with the first pitch.
Yeah, what's up with that?
All right, listen.
What was that all about?
Listen, I told him, do not squat. Stand up. I'm probably going to throw it in the dirt. He started squatting. I started my windup. He stood up. I was done. I started my career throwing wild pitches, and I ended it with a wild pitch. I knew it was going to happen.
Poor Alex Wood. I don't know if he was limping back to the dugout or not.
Yeah, we were joking. Alex Wood to the disabled list with a broken toe on the ceremonial first. What is that?
Well, see, he started down and went up, and, you know, it ain't in there anymore. That
was a slider. That's what he used to do to me all the time. He used to bruise me pretty bad.
He never could follow instructions, could he?
No. I'll tell you, I'm not kidding you. I had a phobia with anybody who didn't have a mask, a chest protector, and didn't have the stuff down there. I almost killed Snicker. I remember Snicker used to catch on a little stool. I said, Snit, this ain't good. He goes, come on. That was the last time he caught on a stool.
You guys, I know, proud of Chipper getting his number retired yesterday. It was a great ceremony and everything. But it continues to follow the progression of all those pennants up there with those of you that were so involved in the success of this ball club and beginning in the early 90s. Got to be proud of that.
Well, there's no question. I mean, for John's number to be up there, now Chipper's number to be up there, the one thing that I can say is actually I was the last person to wear number 10 before Chipper. So that'll be a trivia question someday.
No, I was just thinking your number got retired too, so
well, it
congratulations.
Did. I'm going with that all weekend. My number is retired.
Nice.
Right next to my buddy Johnny.
There you go.
Yeah, Chip was pretty spoiled. He broke in the league, and all he did was win and go to the playoffs.
Yeah.
And he had an unbelievable career. And I don't think, we love to kid him and joke, but I think his defense is so underrated. When people talk about Chipper, they talk about the switch hitting ability, power from both sides. But he was as good as it gets when it comes in on that roller and played third base. And, of course, had that little cameo and left, but he did a great job at third.
You told me yesterday, John.
Freeman smokes this ball to center. And it's gone. A line drive home run. And at long last, Tim Hudson finally has a lead. It's 2-0 in the third.
I don't know how much you get to see him hit, Greg, but he is really solid. All over the ballpark.
We were spoiled way back in the early 90s because TBS, you watch 130 games or what have you, so I don't see as much. But this whole Braves lineup can, at any time, score a lot of runs. They've been struggling lately, but it's always good to see the young guys come up like that.
Kennedy's road homer woes continue. That's his 12th of 15 he's given up outside of his home ballpark. And Freeman, in our show of first baseman, strikes first today.
Well, and another good thing, too, is that Upton came back and got himself a base hit after getting plunked his first time by Kennedy. That's a long, low drive right there.
Brian McCann serves one the other way. That's going to get down and bounce off the track. McCann goes opposite field. And he's at second with one out.
Finish that thought, John, though, about Chipper and his defense. The one thing I asked him about, was there anything left on the table that he didn't achieve? And he said, yeah, Gold Glove.
Yeah,
and I thought he'd really deserved one.
He definitely did. I mean, Chipper played when the third basemen were stacked. I know some of his all-star snubs were because of that. Freddie Freeman has got a little log jam at first base. He definitely deserves on the all-star team. So it's always an interesting mix on how certain years, certain positions take over. But I agree with you. I thought Chipper got snubbed a few times, and he just was an underrated defensive third baseman. And I hung my share of sliders, and he picked me up a lot of times.
And Bobby Cox yesterday made a strong emphasis on how important, how great Chipper was as a third baseman, charging balls, making plays that were not average plays. They were great plays.
Yeah, he said he always thought Brooks Robinson was the best at that play until he saw Chipper do it.
One of my favorite looks at Chipper's all time was Glavine was playing for the Mets. He hit a swing bunt down the third base line that I was determined to get. I barehanded it, threw it, ended up at third base when I threw it to first. And he was out, and he looked at me like, are you serious? I'm standing right here. I said, that was Glavine. I was going to make that play the whole way.
Downstairs to Dan Uglow, 1 ball, 1 strike. So when you guys get together, you obviously don't see each other every day. You join forces for these ceremonies and honors at Turner Field. Is it like you're 25 years old in the locker room again when you see guys for the first time in a year, 2 years or longer?
I mean, it is. There's not enough guys that get to come. That's the one regret. There's some guys that haven't been back to the field for one reason or another, and we'd like to see them. And the reunions are always great. And seeing guys that, for a brief moment, it'd like to be longer. Everybody's got stuff going on, but it is certainly a lot of fun to see the guys you played with and the teammates you had.
A couple of new guys, I'll say new guys to this year, though, like Steve Bedrosian's back. It's great to see him.
And there's still a competitive fire. I mean, I was so anxious to play today because I knew Schmaltz had a white jersey on and I had the red. And he's always the favorite, and I wanted nothing more than the Sid Bream team to beat the Schmaltz team so I don't bragging rights. Didn't quite happen, but we put on a good fight.
Yeah, well, did you hear that he handpicked his team and didn't pick you?
Well, did you notice I hit 2 home runs and made the play of the day? But, besides that, I don't know what happened.
One of these years I got to move those fences back.
I agree. 15 extra 20 feet.
Yeah, well.
Yours still would have gone out. You hit a bomb.
That was pretty lucky. You guys have bad defense going. Bad scouting reports working today.
Well, that's because of Bedrosian, the Rock, he was playing the rover and literally roving everywhere.
We had, as hard as this is to look at, Greg, we do have tape of John hitting his home run. And
do we have to watch?
Well,
I'm telling you, this is a bomb. And I've been popping a lot of them up. Oh, look at that shot. Knew it right away. That was for Nagel, by the way.
Nice socks.
Regulation, Vince.
Seems to me last year you fouled out.
That's what I'm saying. It's embarrassing to try to hit a softball. Today I showed up late, didn't take any BP, and ran into one.
Yeah, I saw you in the Braves clubhouse before the game, and Joe John said, if you show me pulling a hamstring, straining a groin after not warming up, we're done.
I was worried about that.
B.J. Upton bats with the Braves up 2-0. So you're here for the big TBS broadcast tomorrow, right?
Yeah, TBS tomorrow. And caught a break. They chose that game, so I got to be here in Atlanta and participate in one of the 3. I would have loved to have been here yesterday. I was up in New York at the network.
As you look back, I'm sure you've seen the videotape of your ceremony, John. My favorite is when the number's finally revealed, when you look up and you see no one else will wear your number ever again. What's that like?
Well, it's undescribable. I don't think you could ever play the game anticipating that. And when it does happen for that one brief moment, the rest of lifetime for the Braves. No one will have it. I mean, the biggest thing I had to do is not look at anybody. I didn't want to look at my parents. I didn't want to look at, I wanted to make sure that I stayed focused. I know Chipper said the same thing yesterday, because there's an array of emotions that go through what wearing that jersey and that number meant to you and all your friends and family who had to go through it with you.
2 strikes for B.J. Upton. And this was Chipper last night. There's the reveal. And his mom was bawling. That one gets away from Montero. And McCann moves up 90 feet.
Ole, I got a question for you. We saw Montero do this 2 or 3 times last night. And it was typically a ball that bounced way out in front of home plate, but he's not even blocking. He's trying to short hop.
Yeah, he's standing up real quick. I mean, when you call a slider or a curve ball, the anticipation is it's in the dirt. So instead of standing up, your first motion should actually be spread eagle on the ground and block it with the middle of your chest, and he's just standing up and doesn't have very good footwork right there.
2-2 for Upton. And rolled foul. Well, we know what John's doing here tomorrow. Ole, what are you doing these days?
Well, believe it or not, I still live in Minnesota. John always wonders why, because he says it snows until June 1st, but that's usually not true. This year it was almost true. But I'm actually now the general manager of the Bear Path Golf and Country Club in Eden Prairie, Minnesota. I enjoy that very much, but I do a little golfing. But anytime I get a chance to come back, most of the time when I come back, I try to line it so I can play with John, because the one thing that I did I was very intelligent about doing early in my career. My best friend on the team was John, who you both know is the most competitive person you've ever met in your life. So it kept me focused in on not only baseball, but cards, racquetball, golf, bowling, you name it. It has been an absolute dream for me to be, good friends with John, because it makes coming back even more enjoyable.
The general manager role has knocked him out of playing in all the golf tournaments that he's been winning, so that's a little bit of a bummer. No more member guests, no more other, club championships. So, oh well.
3 balls, 2 strikes for B.J. Upton. And that's over the inside corner. Freddie Freeman hits a line drive homer to center, and the Braves are up 2. Ole, Smoltzy, great to see you both. Welcome back.
Certainly
Great
appreciate it.
Back.
Yep.
We head to the fourth inning. It is Alumni weekend, and all of Braves country remembers this young man, Steve Avery. Dealing against the old Expos. Young fans might not remember there was a team in Montreal years ago, and that's what Steve did in his 7 years with the Braves. Huge run in the postseason. All-star team in 1993. Steve, that's got to bring back a ton of memories.
Oh, it does, and that's probably the best part about this weekend is just when you're up at home in Michigan, you don't really think about playing days anymore. I mean, I've been done for 10 years now, but getting down here and seeing everybody brings back a lot of memories for sure.
You know, you're one of the guys that we get asked about all the time. Everybody that I run into says, do you ever run into A, B, C, D? You're always A, B, C, or D. They want to know when the last time was we saw Steve Avery, what you're doing.
Yeah, well, I coached 2 baseball teams up north, so I probably spend more time at the baseball field than I did when I even played. But I have the 3 children up in Michigan, and just enjoying my time with them. That's been by far the best part of retirement, is watching them grow up. And like I said, it's a good break for us to get down here. I brought my older 2 down with me this week, and they can kind of get an idea of what it was like for me down here because, up in Detroit, I don't get a whole lot of attention from fans. But down here is a little bit different, so it's kind of fun for them, too.
Goldschmidt reaches on a ball, hit up the middle. And Simmons' throw drew Freddie Freeman off the bag. We'll see how it's scored.
We've been talking. We were talking to John Sherholtz first. We were talking to Ole and John Smoltz just now about how this alumni weekend has grown and how wonderful it is. You've got to really enjoy getting back here when you have the opportunity to see everybody.
Yeah, well, I think, putting Greg Michael in this position, having someone full-time that takes care of it is just a huge advantage. I mean, he's done a great job with it. The fantasy camp we do in January, I've done that 2 of the 3 years, and that's getting bigger. Brian Lapidus does a good job getting all the guys here too, and we just have a great time. I mean, it's like it's hard to believe it was 20 years ago that I was around with these guys, but it seems like you never miss a day with them.
And it has to be remarkable for you, who again lives in Michigan, to come back and see so many of the same faces still with this organization. That doesn't happen in baseball, much less any other walk of life, really.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, we were in the home dugout today, and Bobby came out of the steps and brought back memories. He just like I said, it's like he never left. I mean, it just doesn't leave your mind when you have that great of a team that we had. I mean, obviously winning made it an even better experience for us, but we got along great. I mean, those 7 years I was here, can't say there was one guy that I wouldn't consider a friend, and that's the biggest part about this organization is just the people they bring in have always really fit well.
And besides the on-the-field presence of everybody, the consistency of guys like Bill Acree still being here, Ben and Chris in the clubhouse, people that you used to see every day as a player, still here and happy to see you come back.
Yeah, well, I told Chris, and I saw another Paul Bodie the other day, and these guys were bat boys when we were here,
yeah.
And now they've moved up, and it's great. They try and take care of the people that do a good job for them.
I'm sure you still keep in touch by watching the games as you see a wild pitch from Tim Hudson. Are you able to follow the Braves pretty much every day? I know you mentioned you've got 3 kids and you've got all their activities to plan your life around.
Yeah, I wish I could say I watched a lot of the games, but I really haven't. I'll check the scores obviously at night on ESPN or something, but it's hard to really sit down and watch too much baseball right now with the other stuff we have going on.
Simmons chases Goldschmidt back to the second base bag. Braves lead 2-0 on a Freddie Freeman homer an inning ago in Game 2. Tigers are having a pretty good year. I know you follow them, don't you? You have to if you're living in or about Detroit, Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, they remind me a lot of how we were built. I mean, they started and just brought in some great pitchers with Scherzer now and Verlander. They got 4 or 5 good starters. They got a starter in the bullpen that probably would pitch for most teams too, and Smiley, and you watch them go out every night and pitch 7-8 innings, and it reminds you of when you were out there. And then obviously you throw a Triple Crown winner in the middle of the lineup. That's pretty good problem to have.
I was going to ask you, if you were pitching today, how would you pitch to Miguel Cabrera? Because nobody's figured it out yet.
Yeah, I think I would probably pitch around him, but then you got Prince on deck, and you know, even after that, the lineup is solid. So I'm looking forward to a Braves and Tigers World Series. That's something that would be awesome for me.
I think we'd like that too. I remember near the end of your career, but you were still pitching and talking to other people outside the Braves organization about you. And I remember, I'll never forget Buddy Black, who's now the manager of the Padres, saying, when I brought Steve Avery's name up, he goes, "Oh, you mean the best windup in all of baseball history?" He loved the way you your windup and the basics and the mechanics of your windup. Thought it was great.
Yeah, well, I you know, had a pretty good pitching coach at home with my dad. You know, he pitched in the minor league, so that never hurts, you know. And I was joking with Pete Smith's kids down there today, and told them it's too bad they don't have someone that can teach them how to pitch, you know. But I mean, it's a huge advantage for kids, you know, when they can, you know, put their trust in their dad, and I'm sure that Pete's more than willing, and we all more than willing to work with our kids like that.
2 balls, 2 strikes, and down low to Montero. Here's that windup.
This could be a shadow. It could just be like a player quiz shadow, and there's just no denying who that is.
I actually got to hit off myself about early 90s. They came out with the big screens, and the ball would shoot out of the hole. And I batted off myself one time, and I don't think that went too well.
Line drive left field by Montero. That'll get down for a hit, and Goldschmidt will chug around third and score. Montero's going to head for second, and he'll make it on a slide. And the Diamondbacks cut the lead in half. It's now a 2-1 score.
And that wild pitch comes back to haunt Tim. Montero's 26th RBI, and did a nice job of going the other way.
We saw Montero early in the season when he wasn't swinging well. He's at about 300 here over the last 3 weeks or so. So Hudson now leads by a run with Kubel in the batter's box. Jason flied out his first and only time up. Wind starting to blow across the diamond from left to right. That's usually where the bad weather comes from. Hopefully it'll stay away.
It's gotten dark too.
And lights not coming on for Arizona here in the 4th inning. Here's a question for you. Maybe it's an unfair question, Steve, but get your thoughts on the state of pitching in the game of baseball now as opposed to when you were working for the Braves.
Well, I think they definitely put more emphasis on velocity. I think it's really tough for guys that don't throw 90 miles an hour to really get a chance, and you know, that's a little bit of a shame. I think guys go out there, and a lot of people that maybe can really pitch in the minor league level, but maybe just don't quite throw as hard as a lot of guys aren't getting the opportunities. I think if you look at any bullpen and you see someone throw under 90 miles an hour, it'd be a real surprise.
You're right.
Another shot off the bat of Kubel into right field. Montero around third gets the green light. Hayward loads up. His throw to the plate is going to be late. And the Diamondbacks, with 3 hits here in the 4th inning, have tied the game 2-2.
25th RBI for Kubel. Looked like a breaking ball that Tim didn't locate where he wanted. He was having a little trouble with that back foot breaking ball in spring training. No, that wasn't a breaking ball. That was just something up.
So his 2-0 lead short-lived. Arizona ties it, and A.J. Pollock, the center fielder, bats with Kubel at first. Pollock bounced back to the mound his first time. There's a quick strike.
Your golf game in good order? We heard a report from Ole that he doesn't get to play enough now that he's the general manager of a golf course. What about you?
Yeah, I miss my my golf director in Smoltz, you know, carrying that little black book around, getting us on every course in the United States. So I haven't been playing quite as much as I did when I played ball, but it's still not too bad.
What's your handicap? National audience now, be honest.
It's I haven't played enough to really have a consistent one, but it's probably still around a 3 or 4.
Nice.
Boy, boo-hoo.
Yeah, feel bad for the guy. No balls, 2 strikes for A.J. Pollock. And he looks high at 1-2. How long will you stay in Atlanta? Going to get out after the events tomorrow? Or is today the last day? What's
yeah, we normally I'd stay through Sunday, but we planned a birthday party for my 9-year-old tomorrow, so I got to get back for that. Like I said, I brought the older 2 down here, so they got to experience this, and then next year I'm planning on bringing him down as well. So he was a little bummed he didn't get to make it.
Well, have a heck of a party back home tomorrow. Aves, it's great to see you.
All right,
welcome back. Always great to have you here as part of Alumni Weekend. One of the greats of all time in Braves history. Steve Avery, part of the, as I've said, and will continue to say, great celebrations of baseball here in Atlanta.
All right, thanks for having me on, guys.
Good to see you, Steve.
Thanks for coming back.
All right.
2 balls, 2 strikes for A.J. Pollock. And he takes high. It's now a 4 count. That's outside. Hudson's command escaping him here in this 4th inning. That's 4 Arizona base runners. And now they have men at first and second with 1 out. Bottom part of the order, though, it's Didi Gregorius, the 8th place hitter, and their shortstop. 3rd walk for Hudson, and a visit for Roger McDowell, a chance for him to reset.
Kind of breezed through those first 3 innings.
But 21 of his 63 pitches have come in this frame. It all started with that infield hit by Goldschmidt. I don't know if the ball took a funny bounce, but looked like Anderson fielded it just a little bit awkwardly. And then in his haste to get Goldschmidt, it was busting down the line through wide of first.
His last start on the 22nd at Milwaukee, he got shut out again. But he also walked 4 guys. 3 of them, I mean, 1 was intentional, but there were still 4 walks, and already today 3 walks, none intentional. As all of a sudden the sun breaks through.
Gregorius popped out to 3rd in the 3rd for Arizona. And shoots 1 toward left. Justin drifts back a few steps. And that's the 2nd out. Runners retreat to 1st and 2nd. Ian Kennedy's the pitcher. Tim walked him an inning ago. Ball, no strikes.
That heavy cloud cover's kept the temperature down a little bit for Tim and for Kennedy. But now that it's broken through, it'll be steamy on the field.
Beautiful look at downtown Atlanta. As Kennedy finds himself behind in the count. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Well, it's not been a good inning for Tim, but he has a chance here to make a good pitch and limit it to a tie. And he walked the pitcher the last time up, so certainly don't want that to happen again. So be aggressive and make him put the ball in play or strike him out.
He does put it in play out to second. It rolls up the arm of Ugla, but close enough for him to pick it up and retire the side. Montero doubled home a run. Kubel singled home a run. And the Diamondbacks in the fourth tie our game at 2. A look at our Blimpie game summary.
Well, both pitchers have given up 2 runs. The Diamondbacks had to work and manufacture theirs here in the top of the 4th inning, but the Braves got theirs in one swing from Freddie Freeman after Justin Upton had singled. Freddie hit his 8th homer of the year. A little discussion between innings. It was very dark here while the Diamondbacks were hitting in the top of the 4th inning, and Kirk Gibson came out to talk to Brian O'Nora, I think just to make sure that if the same thing happened again, that the lights would not come on now, because my understanding has always been that if they're not on by the beginning of an inning, you can't turn them on and give a home team an advantage by having the lights on in the bottom half.
And the same thing applies in Arizona with the roof.
Mm-hmm.
If it's open at the start of the inning, it has to stay that way until the inning concludes. So Chris Johnson goes to work first for the Braves. He's the 8th place hitter. Then no rest for the weary Tim Hudson, who had a very long top of the 4th inning. He'll bat next. A fly ball slicing away from Parra in right, but he makes the grab. And that's the first out.
Nice plays. He's a good outfielder. Good arm. We've talked about all of his assists. He had 2 in 1 inning against the Braves a couple of years ago. Home Depot tools from the dugout. These are nice tools to have. Most outfield assists since 2011. Alex Gordon, Jeff Francoeur at the top of the heap, and Gerardo Parra 5th on that list.
The Gordon one surprises me. We saw him make a bunch of great catches in Kansas City, but I never knew or would have dreamed that he would have thrown out that many runners.
As an outfielder, I almost want an asterisk next to his name. And that's because he's a left fielder. And you have shorter throws to make than a center fielder, and especially a right fielder. It's much more difficult to throw out a guy from right field than from left.
And outs and out, I wonder if a bunch of those were teams early for Alex Gordon testing his accuracy and his arm strength just to see what he could do.
Absolutely could have been.
Hudson skies one to deep center. That's real deep. Pollock going back at the wall, makes the grab. Tim missed a homer by about 2 feet.
Breaking ball, too, and he launched it. It's a good hand from the fans who appreciate his good work with the bat, too. And while Pollock is making this play, we are told, well, the lights have come on, and that Kirk Gibson told the umpires it was okay with him if they did turn them on.
So if he doesn't mind, then so be it. Braves will happily take the advantage if it works out that way. And it's so bright he had to put on his sunglasses. Here's Simmons. He pops one up. Martin Prado puts the squeeze on that. And it's 3 up, 3 down in the Atlanta fourth. Top of the Diamondbacks order comes up for inning number 5. Our score remains 2-2. Presented by CPI Security. If you order tickets for tomorrow's game from Braves.com, a portion of the proceeds benefit the Wounded Warrior Project. That's our 3rd annual tribute to the troops, and it's tomorrow at 1. And that man, Freddie Gonzalez, is very, very heavily involved with members of our armed forces, the Wounded Warrior Project. Every time we're out in San Diego, he arranges visits out to Coronado.
Right. He's very actively involved in that.
So while we celebrate the Braves' history, maybe the most important thing is we celebrate the men and women who make it possible for us to enjoy this weekend.
We'll see how you can find out more about it.
Parra reached and rolled out to second. And he's an easy out, one away. Parra's 0 for 3. Good start to the 5th for Hudson. He could use an easy inning. Martin Prado's the batter. He's 0 for 2.
Game 81 today, right?
81 it is.
Halfway.
46 and 34 at the moment. After 81 games last year, the Braves had 42 wins, 39 losses. They were in 3rd place and 6 games out of the lead. Simmons gets a Sunday hop on Saturday afternoon. 2 outs.
So they're playing better, and the other teams are playing worse. That's a good combination.
You bet. I said last night, and I stand by this, the most exciting thing about this Braves club, I think, is to come, because as John Sherholt said, this team offensively hasn't really gelled yet. It is loaded with power potential. It's loaded with offensive potential. And while you have to realize that potential at some point, if they put that together, just think how dynamic and explosive this offense could be for the Braves. Goldschmidt hits one deep to left, but the wind is going to keep that in the ballpark. He hit that a ton. And a 6-pitch inning for Tim Hudson earns him a 1-2-3 break heading to the bottom of the 5th inning. Hayward, Upton, and Freeman, our Delta Airlines on deck trio. We're still tied 2-2.
Showcase over the course of this weekend between 2 first-place teams. And, of course, Freddie Freeman has been sensational defensively. This catch in Kansas City, one of the best all year. When Freddie Gonzalez talked about him today, he said he is one of the best defensive first basemen in baseball. And, of course, we all know what he does in the clutch. He had a string of 2 walk-offs in 3 games. So, why then is he 5th in All-Star voting? Just 1.1 million votes. He's behind Brandon Belton, Alan Craig, among others, in the race for the National League All-Star team at first base. When when Gonzalez talked about defensive first baseman, kind of echoed what John Smoltz said earlier in this game. He said you got a guy at Cincinnati and Joey Votto who's really good defensively, but other than that, I think Freddie Freeman's one of the best in the National League and should be considered one of the best.
We all agree with that, Tom. And when I'm looking at those guys in the top 5, and Bruce Bochy is an honorable, wonderful person and a great baseball manager. But let's face it, let's say Votto and Goldschmidt both are in because of their numbers, and they both deserve it, either by vote or by numbers. If you're going to pick a third guy, I mean, you're obviously going to be more partial to your own guy. If Brandon Belt's still up there, I mean, you got to consider him over someone else. If you're Bruce Bochy, it's just natural.
Points Freddie Gonzalez made today is how much better a good defensive first baseman makes the rest of your infield. And while we all know how great Andrelton Simmons is, there's no doubt that while he helps Andrelton, he certainly helps the other 2 spots on the infield. And he said that was a big key to this Braves team defensively over the course of the season.
I think it's a great point. If you've got a good first baseman, it's like he's playing 4 spots, his own and helping out on the other 3. This was first play of the game. Took a hit away from Parra. Nice speed.
And even the infield hit that Arizona got with the wide throw when Goldschmidt was running. Freeman came off the bag and with his big wingspan tried to make the swipe tag and almost got him at first base. A good start to the Braves' fifth. Hayward walks in a 2-2 game with Justin Upton back. And there's also, going back to our unwritten rules discussion, in the World Series, it's sort of a reward for a guy like Brandon Belt too, right?
Well, if he deserves it.
Yeah.
If he's putting up good numbers, I'd have to look him up and see what he's actually hitting. We saw them not too long ago, and I don't mean to disrespect him, but I don't think he's putting up the numbers that Freddie Freeman's putting up. He's just not. Freddie's not getting as many votes.
Hopefully that'll change up to July 4th. Again, you can vote online at Braves.com. You can vote at MLB.com. And best way to vote is to get yourself to the ballpark. Got a day here tomorrow and then 3 with the Marlins on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th.
263, 8 homers, 34 RBIs for Bell.
Roller foul, 1 ball, 1 strike.
Freddie's hitting 40 points higher, 35 roughly. Same number of homers, and Freeman's got 16 more RBIs and missed 2 weeks. So I would say vote. If you're listening and close to a computer, go online. You can vote up to 25 times, I believe, in one day, up to July 4th.
1 ball, 1 strike for Upton.
And that's MLB.com, right? Is that where you go to vote?
Kennedy finished that delivery a little awkwardly. 2 balls and a strike.
Alan Craig's 4th in that voting. He's hitting .315. He's got 8 homers and he's got 62 RBIs, just 5 behind Goldschmidt. So he's very worthy too.
And you know the Cardinals pack him in night after night in St. Louis.
I remember days where, as we were coming down to the last week or 10 days, even 2 weeks of voting, when we thought that there were some Braves that might have a chance, and if there was a Cardinal that might be close, we'd look to see where the Cardinals were playing right before the All-Star or before the deadline, and know that the ballot box would be stuffed.
Yeah, if you're in St. Louis during final days of voting, you'd think it snowed.
Yes.
All the little boxes that you have to poke out with a pen, those little fragments of paper were all over the place at the ballpark. Three balls and a strike. Kennedy hit Upton in the first inning. Justin hit him back with a single, and he scored ahead of Freddie's home run. This is the first start for Kennedy after his 10-game suspension. And he's trying to snap a real weird streak for this Arizona starting staff. They have gone 20 games without a win by a starting pitcher.
That's crazy for a first-place team.
Popped up behind first. Goldschmidt, long run. Prado called him off, and Martin in foul ground made a terrific running play for the first out. The wind was pushing that away from Prado, but he was on a dead sprint.
And the only guy other than Kennedy who was thrilled to hear him call for that ball was Goldschmidt, because he didn't know where it was. Tough play for a first baseman.
So I told you earlier, Freddie loves to hit against the Diamondbacks. Here's our updated Georgia lottery hitting the jackpot.
.429 average. Up to 18 RBIs thanks to this rocket he hit out of here to straightaway center field his last time up. Gave the Braves a brief 2-0 lead.
So Freeman on pace for a 100 RBI year. He's up to 50 now. And 8 home runs.
Miguel Montero's only thrown out 3 of 22 base stealers. Can't hang all of it on him. I'm sure some of the pitchers don't give him any help, but only 14%. It sounds low for an all-star catcher.
Snap throw to first and a close play. Jason back safely.
Might come closer to getting him there than he would at second. Don't want to take the bat out of Freddie's hand, so if Jason's still at first, they'll pitch to him. Kennedy's got a good changeup today. He made a real good pitch to Andrelton Simmons to strike him out in the second inning with runners at second and third and 2 out.
Ninety pitches with 1 out in the fourth. And that's pulled into the seats foul. Excuse me, in the fifth inning, beg your pardon, fifth inning. As Freeman rips it foul. Delta Airlines, a proud sponsor of the Atlanta Braves. I was going to ask you, what do you think of Kennedy's stuff after this long layoff?
I think it's good. You know, he hasn't made that many mistakes. Freddie got one, obviously. But he's a good pitcher. 10 days doesn't seem to have affected him.
A couple years ago, this man was a 21-game winner. Finished fourth in the National League Cy Young voting. He's under 500 this year. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
And it was in 2011 when he was a 21-game winner and the Diamondbacks were in the playoffs that he was in the Cy Young running. What a year. 2.88 ERA.
Kershaw, Halladay, and Lee were the men that finished ahead of him in the Cy Young voting that year. As Freeman takes a walk. Second walk of the inning, third walk of the game, and it's all set up now for Brian McCann.
It's good at bat, and it was those were 2 tough pitches to lay off. Kind of a slide step, kind of jumping at the hitter, which automatically makes a hitter react like he's got to speed up. And then he threw slow breaking balls off the slide step twice in a row, and Freeman able to lay off.
Counting today's game, I've got Freeman with 12 walks in the last 11 games. It's a lot. Pitching him exceedingly carefully as Will Harris grabs a baseball and starts to limber up in the Diamondbacks bullpen.
Well, that's kind of started against the Mets. He started pitching around him.
A rough and long third inning for Kennedy on a muggy day. And now McCann greets him, and Bryant's already doubled in today's play. One ball, no strikes. Braves today looking for their first hit with a runner in scoring position. They're 0 for 5 so far.
Yeah, they had some great opportunities in the first and second inning. Came up empty. That shadow beginning to crawl out there from the third base line too. That'll get closer to the mound and make it harder for the hitters. Kennedy only walked one in his last start, but that was, as Chip said, back on the 16th at San Diego. 6 innings of work, got no decision. Serving his 10-day suspension. This is his first start after the suspension.
And he just walked the bases loaded. Dan Uggla will hit with 3 on and 1 out.
He knows Dan's a very aggressive hitter. He knows after striking him out in the 3rd inning, he knows that he'll fan on occasion. So he may make that, well, he's not going to get a chance, is he? We're going to have to restructure that thought.
Bases are full of Braves. Kennedy back and to the left, headed toward the dugout in a 2-2 game, bottom of the 5th inning. Bases are loaded. 1 man is out. All season long, Braves baseball on Fox Sports South is being presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. The right stuff, the low price every day. Joe Simpson, Tom Hart, Chip Carey with you as a new Arizona pitcher is on the mound.
Will Harris, they got him off waivers in early April from Oakland, and he's pitched real well for them of late. He has worked scoreless outings in 14 of his last 15 games, and right-handers are just 2 for their last 15 against him. But I think the same holds true here for Dan Uggla, knowing he's aggressive and wants to drive these runs in. He might be willing to, or might be able to look for an off-speed pitch here early in the count.
Dan Uggla with the bases loaded. And he takes ball 1. We talked at length this year about how the Braves as a club have struggled with runners in scoring position. That does not apply to bases loaded situations.
No, it doesn't.
They're hitting their area code 404 as a team with the bases loaded.
Outstanding. There's the breaking ball. Harris worked last night, got 2 outs, walked a batter, and they took him out of the game. Ryan O'Nora is going to give Montero a minute to shake that foul tip off his arm. Or was it the bat? The bat caught him on the arm. Can't imagine how that hurt. Nora just looks like an umpire, doesn't he?
Uh-huh.
As your dad would say when they called Central Casting.
When they called Central Casting. 1 ball, 1 strike. I like it when the umpire tells you right away what the pitch is. There's no guessing. There's no waiting. Arm goes up and he yells strike. And we count 1-2 for Uglo.
That was interesting. Usually on a real close foul tip like that, the umpire just reaches in his bag, pulls out another baseball. But on that foul tip, it went to the screen. Both Montero and the umpire both looked back like, where'd that go? That doesn't usually happen. The catcher reaches back for another ball. That's that.
Good stop that time by Montero. As Greg Olson was saying, like pretty good technique that time.
Yeah, a little better mechanics there. Looked like he kind of, as Greg said, butterflied down on his shin guards to try to get in front of that one. Another one.
And how about the at-bat for Uglo?
He's actually made a couple of real good pitches with his fastball in. One was a called strike. I don't know if he'd dare go in there again, but they were in a little bit off the plate.
And downstairs, Uglo coaxes a bases-loaded walk. 4th walk earned in the inning, and Atlanta's back in front. Charge that run to Kennedy. Dan came in to today's play 4th in the league in walks.
That was an RBI walk and a really good at bat after falling behind a ball and 2 strikes.
Now B.J. Upton bats. And has a good cut. It's fouled back. Strike 1.
One of the things about this team that you can't deny, Chip, is while they've racked up a lot of strikeouts and they've had their share of 3-pitch strikeouts, but they, as a rule, this lineup makes you work. They really add the pitches up on starting pitchers, and rarely are they able to get through 5 or 6 innings without being close to 100.
That was the case for Kennedy today, as he left with the bases loaded. 1 in, 1 out, and an 0-2 count for Upton.
97 for Kennedy.
97. He had but 1 1-2-3 inning. That was the 4th inning. So Freeman, McCann, and Ugla on the bases. Fly ball center. Pollock drifts back. He'll have room to make the catch. Tagging at third is Freeman. He's going to score. McCann moves up 2. Productive out for B.J. Upton. He put it in play and gets an RBI as a result.
Yeah, on an 0-2 count. Cut down on his swing a little bit. And when he first hit it, I didn't know if it'd be deep enough. That ball really jumped. Good job. Got a good pitch to handle and didn't try to do too much with it. His 18th RBI.
So today offensively, Joe, a day where the Braves are doing a little bit of everything. Patience, some power, and making productive outs. Very diverse offense. 4 runs on 5 hits.
Still got a guy at third base, too. Get another one in.
Chris Johnson, the man in the box. With runners in scoring position and 2 outs, Johnson's been very productive. He's 7 for 23. That's a 304 mark. And he's a little late. Again 0-2. Tim Hudson has the lead again. And Ugla with a bases loaded walk put the Braves up 3-2. B.J. Upton with a sac fly has made it 4-2. Mets beat Washington 5-1 today. The Braves have already picked up a half game on the Nationals. They could make it a full game if they can finish off Arizona today. And that's rolled foul. Still 1-2.
Chris Johnson, like Justin Upton, has had some success against his former teammates. Already this year in 4 games, 5 for 11 with a homer.
It's funny, we've talked so much about Justin Upton facing his former team. I know I've been remiss in talking about, hey, this is Chris Johnson's former team too.
Mm-hmm.
Hit today in the second. He's battled back to an even count.
Tim Hudson's last win was May 5th against the Mets, 9-4. But the last time he got as many as 4 runs to work with was May 21st. So well over a month ago. 6 starts ago.
Usually give him 4 runs.
Yeah.
Book a W. And when you said the last time he got 4 runs, I was thinking Truman administration.
Yeah.
That's what it's
he
felt
is
like,
too.
right?
Well, as Tom Glavine likes to say, there's a base open, but it's not first base, and the pitcher's on deck. But Tim almost hit one out of here his last time up.
Big breaking ball missed way high. Johnson didn't offer, and they're loaded again. That's 5 walks in the inning for Arizona's staff.
Braves have scored 2 runs without benefit of a hit. Thank you very much.
So the luxury of having a base open allows you to pitch to the pitcher. The disadvantage is if you're wild, there's no place to put him. And Harris has already walked 2 men in the inning. He almost hit one out in the 4th, as Joe just said. So here's the first to Tim. Strike 1. No balls, 2 strikes. And the inning is over. The Braves, as Joe said, scored 2 runs without a hit. They got 5 walks in the 5th inning. All those runs are charged to starter Ian Kennedy. It's now a 4-2 Braves game going to the 6th. by a pair, Joe, as we head to the 6th inning.
Well, it's kind of funny. The 4 runs today, 2 on a long ball and 2 without benefit of a hit. But Dan Uggla had a great at bat there in the bottom of the 5th inning that kind of helped put Braves on the board again with a bases loaded walk. And then the sacrifice fly by BJ added another run. So Tim Hudson goes out needing another shutdown inning.
His lifetime record is 156-6 in starts in which he's received support of 4 or more runs, and while he's still in the game. That is in play today, so you certainly like your chances. As our alumni weekend continues, everybody remembers Terry Harper. That bring back some memories, Terry?
Yes, it does. I tell you, the slimmer Terry Harper, but
I don't know. You look pretty good shape to me.
Thank you very much.
Now, you were one of the original homegrown Atlanta Braves. What was that experience like in the 80s playing for your hometown team?
Well, I tell you, it was so good because my dad was a lifetime Braves fan, and I just remember him carrying that radio, that transistor radio around. You know, the games went on TV, and he just be fussing when things don't go our way.
No balls and a strike.
Fun weekend for you guys all to get together again.
Yeah, I think all the guys really enjoy this because, you know, you can kind of get back. I think you miss as much stuff that goes on in the clubhouse as you much stuff that goes on the field. So guys get back, and some of the old members come back, and guys get joking around. So it's a lot of fun.
That's exactly what Greg Olson said.
It's funny, isn't it? Now, the younger guys like me all remember the early 90s teams. But some have said, and I think there's a lot of justification to it, that some of the seeds of the Braves' success were planted by guys who played in the early 80s when Joe Torre was the manager here. Mm-hmm. What was it like playing for Joe Torre at the old ballpark?
You know, Joe, he was always positive, and he was one of the first managers. I mean, he could just see the positive on anything. And I think that started breeding on into the players, and we start believing ourselves, and the next thing you know, we start winning. So, you know, I think it was just his attitude, the way he went about things.
And in '82, you didn't stop winning until your 14th game.
Yeah, well, when we came out of spring training, we thought we could do it. And I think when we got off that good start, that just kind of one thing led to another, and then I think the guys we start thinking we are supposed to win when we go out there. So it really helped getting off to that good start.
2 balls, 2 strikes to Eric Chavez, and Tim just missed inside. It's a full count.
Who were some of the fun characters on that ball club, '82? Wild and Crazy Dale Murphy?
Yeah, well, well, me and Murphy, we used to take all the jokes because, you know, I don't know how it is, but every time we pick up a cookie or something to snack on, it's like somebody was always looking at us. There y'all go eating again. And so me and Murphy, we always had to being the eaters on the team. But Glenn Hubbard, you know, he used to always lighten the shoes, and Claudel Washington and Gerald Perry, he was one of the worstest for just getting stuff started. So, you know, it's good. And Rick Camp, can't forget about Campy. And I think that's good because, you know, when things get a little tight and you got some guys who kind of lighten up the atmosphere, it really helps out as far as just loosening everybody up.
9th pitch of the at-bat coming to Eric Chavez. Arizona starting off the 6th inning. And he'll see a 10th as that one's popped up over the dugout third base side. Montero will be next for Arizona.
I'm not sure that Tim Hudson's going to pitch much beyond this, given the heat and humidity, but it's pretty much sealing the deal if this at-bat continues the way it is.
Soft fly ball to left. Upton broke back, comes in, and it's too late. The ball gets behind him, but Chavez will throw out an anchor and stop at first. A blue pit to left starts off inning number 6. Terry, you're an outfielder. That's got to feel awful. No man's land on a swing like that.
Yeah, well, you know, when you that ball, he looked like he hit it good, like he hit off the end of the bat. And so sometimes that tells you that, oh, they hit that ball pretty good. So the first instinct is break back. And then by the time you get back, it's too late. So that's a pretty bad feeling right there.
That and the fact that they're hitting in the shadow, too. It's sometimes a little harder to pick the ball up off the bat in that shadow.
Yes, it makes it real tough. So And then the shirts. Balls come out these shirts in the stands.
It had to be fun hitting at the old ballpark, huh? Fulton County Stadium?
I tell you, I was more of a line drive hitter, but, when the line drive keep going, then you start having some other thoughts.
Best year of the Braves, 85. You hit 17, drove in 72 that year. The 85 club.
Well, hitting is about confidence, and when you get out to a good start, I think it just kind of leads to good things, and I think that's what happened to me that year.
And then you had a chance to play baseball in Japan when your Atlanta Braves career was over. What was that experience like, going from the major leagues to the Japanese major leagues?
It was. I thought it was a great experience because the people were just. They're just so nice. I was over there at the same time Mike Tyson was there, and Mike Tyson said, "These people out here so nice. They about to make me nice, and I know I'm not a nice guy."
2 balls and a strike. Were you able to learn Japanese while you're over there? Did you speak some Japanese?
I was just starting to get into it, and I, when you have the interpreters and then the people that be around you, and you think they can't speak English, and you might be around for a week or two, and then all of a sudden they start speaking English, and so you really don't get a chance to speak a whole lot of Japanese because everybody don't speak English.
That makes it easy, right?
Yes, it does, and I need it too at the time. I tell you.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Favorite Braves memory for you?
Well, for me, the year we clinched it, I hit a home run to L.A. I don't know if it clinched it. I think it clinched it for us. And when I was running around the bases, I tell you, all I could think about was, my dad carrying that transistor radio.
There you go.
Oh, how cool. 2 balls, 2 strikes. And a swing and a miss. Montero's retired by Tim Hudson. One away.
I know he wasn't fussing about that if he was listening.
Yeah, he's all smiles.
Let's see, for Tim, that is his 2nd strikeout in the game. And he goes after Jason Kubel. If he can get a ground ball, he might be able to pitch 6 complete.
Terry, I know you guys look forward to this, what has grown into a really wonderful alumni weekend, and added today is that memorial for the alumni out in the center field plaza and Monument Plaza, honoring all the former Braves coaches and players that have passed on. That's a wonderful thing too, to add to all this.
Yeah, that's great. I tell you, the Braves, kind of class organization, and each year they do one more thing to really just make them stand out even more. And so, because we had some great guys pass this year, and it's a great thing.
1 ball, no strikes for Jason Kubel. Well, what keeps you busy besides watching every Braves game on Fox Sports South?
Yeah, I tell you, between myself coaching and I like to see young kids progress, and I really don't even have to have the best kids. I just like to see the guy just getting better. And so between that and then going home watching the Braves games, I tell you, my wife, she about to kick me out the house.
Enough baseball, huh?
Yeah, too much baseball.
Well, it's always great to have you here at the ballpark. Don't be a stranger. Come anytime.
Thank you very much.
The pride of Douglasville and Douglas County High School. The great Terry Harper played with the Braves here in the 1980s. He would have hit a ton of home runs in this ballpark, too, with that line drive stroke, the way it carries out.
Yeah, I tell you. Whew. What a beautiful ballpark, I tell you.
Three balls and a strike to Jason Kubel. And now full count. We'll wrap up the series here tomorrow afternoon. First pitch at 1:35. Trevor Cahill will pitch for Arizona. Paul Maholm will go for the Braves. And it's the third annual tribute to the Troops Day at Turner Field as well.
Yeah, remember, tomorrow start 1:35.
Yes.
Those of you planning to come.
Bouncing ball to first. Freeman's going to get the lead runner, and the throw back, not in time.
Wow.
Two rocket arms almost turned a slow developing play into a double play.
Terry, a lot of big first basemen sometimes are lumbering, and you put them at first base because you know they couldn't play in the outfield or anywhere else. But Freddie Freeman has got a good arm, and he can pick it over there.
Yeah, that was the first thing I was thinking about when he let that ball go. I said, "Whoa!" That ball zipped out of his hand, kind of like Simmons. I tell you, I like to see both of them guys on the mound.
Yeah,
both can throw 97.
Boy, I tell you, that brings back memory because those guys. Push come to shove. You know, sometimes we used to have all them late rain games and guys had to come in the game. But it's nice to know you got those two guys.
That's something Joe talks about all the time, is how one way the game has changed. We have almost everybody in bullpens nowadays throwing in the mid-90s. Everybody.
Well, I was coaching the Braves system. I think we had one guy in Greenville, and that was Mark Wallace. Now everybody's Mark Wallace.
Yeah, exactly right.
That's
exactly right.
Great way of putting it. So get in there, hit 300 against that stuff every day.
I tell you, you know, it's good to see that guy, but if it's straight, you know, I think big league players, they get a couple swings at it. I think they can figure something out. Now, when that thing starts moving, that's a whole different ballgame.
Bobby Cox always said a major league hitter can time a jet.
You're right. You won't see too many guys complain about that.
There's the action in the Braves bullpen. The next pitch for Hudson will be 100. And it's scorched into center field off the bat of Pollock. B.J. Upton going back, and it is gone. And look at Hudson. A.J. Pollock ties the game with 2 outs.
Man, oh man, he'd got through Montero, got through Kubel, get to the bottom of the order, and Pollock is the guy.
Tim was 1 out away from leaving the 6th inning with a win.
Hanging slider upstairs.
Big pat on the back for Tim Hudson. He'll depart in a tie game now. Terry, again, great to see you. Thanks for joining us. I look forward to seeing you for Alumni Weekend next year, and hopefully many more times in between.
Thank you all very much. Thanks for having me.
Came with 2 outs in this 6th inning, and Arizona off the deck now ties the game 4-4.
can understand his frustration. It's been a long 6 weeks trying to get back in the win column.
And so the base is empty. Alex Wood answers our AT&T call to the bullpen.
Pitched in one game at Kansas City. That was on Wednesday. He took the loss. 2 hits and a run in a third of an inning in the 10th inning. Gave up the hit to Alex Gordon.
So Alex might be called on for multiple innings today. As the 8th place hitter's up for Arizona, Atlanta will have its leadoff man up in the 6th.
Yeah, Tim made the last out in the 5th inning.
One ball, 2 strikes. Well, one of the many things that makes this game so amazing is you look at Tim Hudson's line of work today. He throws 100 pitches. 1 decides his fate. 1.
It did, but I'm going to go back to Chavez, who led off the inning, and it took 11 pitches, and he finally got a base hit.
Yep.
But on a day like today, that may have taken a lot of steam out of Tim. That base runner essentially was still out there after Kubel grounded out and forced out Chavez. But it took its toll on Tim, I think, here in the 6th inning.
Wood's 6th pitch ends the inning for Arizona. Gregorius takes a called 3rd strike. We go to the bottom of the 6th, top of the order. A 4-4 game.
By the Home Depot and by Toyota.
We go deeper into the Arizona bullpen with our score tied 4-4. Before we tell you who their 3rd pitcher of the day will be this afternoon, let's take a look at our AT&T Universe trivia question. Who holds the Diamondbacks' single-season record for homers by a first baseman?
Travis Lee. Remember him?
Yep. Mark Grace played first base for him, but wasn't known for his power.
Yeah.
How about Uribe Durazo?
Oh, yeah. No, I'm going to stay with Lee.
You stay with Travis Lee? Mm-hmm. I just like saying Uribe Durazo. Sounds like a guy wearing the black hat coming out of the sunset. The shootout in the western town. Here's Brad Ziegler. Does he give you a different look out of the bullpen?
It's kind of odd to see him come in at the start of an inning. He's a guy that has done a lot of good for the Diamondbacks, coming in the middle of an inning, needing a ground ball and getting it. He has induced 21 double plays this year, most by a reliever since the Orioles' Doug Sisk in 1988, who also had 21, but we're only halfway through the season. He's also induced 76 ground outs compared to 10 fly ball outs. And you see the delivery.
There's ground ball to third. Chavez has it.
He doesn't throw hard. It's not some super hard sinker. It's low to mid 80s. But it is very effective and gets a lot of downward sink to it. See that ground ball hit by Andrelton.
How hard is it for a hitter, Joe, after 5 innings where you're used to seeing the ball out of one slot, to come in and see him throwing almost underhanded?
You just have to reprogram a little bit, Chip, I think, on where you want the pitch. I mean, make him get the ball up above a certain point before you even offer. You know, focus on that line. Draw that mental line for yourself. And change bats, go to the bat rack and get a wedge.
A cricket mallet. I think that's what they call it, a bat or a mallet. Those flat-sided things.
That'd be a good call. Brian O'Nora would just look the other way.
Fly ball down the right field line. Parra running, sliding, and catching. What a play.
Well, I thought Jason got it when he first hit it, but apparently too much off the end of the bat. And if it stays in the park, there's a good chance this guy's going to run it down. Nice play again by Parra. He had a couple of misadventures last night in center field, lost a ball in center. Remember, early in the game, he made a bad throw that allowed a runner to get into scoring position. But I think we said last night he's better than that.
Yeah. Well, you know, Justin Upton's thinking about the Eric Chavez play in the top of this inning. Big swing by Chavez. Upton broke back and came in too late. And he singles the other way to give Freeman a chance. What hurt on that play for Upton was obviously the result of the inning, and that was the Pollock homer that tied it up.
Some smart hitting there by Justin. Continues to torment his old club. His 2 hits today, and he was also hit by a pitch.
Good day at the plate for Freddie Freeman. A 2-run homer in the 3rd. He walked and scored in the 5th.
Right-handers starting today against Ziegler, 184. And left-handers, 214.
So an improvement, but not a gigantic difference between lefties, righties. And with Freddie, it doesn't really matter. He hits lefties real well. And righties, too, obviously. 1 ball, 1 strike.
I thought that was one of the great stats that came out yesterday. Everybody talking about Chipper, but Pete Van Wieren reminding us, he was talking about Chipper's 300 career average, that he hit a career 300 or better from both sides of the plate. The professor, of course.
Yes.
Taught us something again.
I bet Pete knows what time the game is tomorrow, right?
Yes.
What time's the game tomorrow?
1:35.
2 balls and a strike. At the knees, Freeman thought it was low.
Fox Tracks agrees with Freddie. Low and a little out. Close pitch, though.
breaking ball ends the inning. Freeman slams his bat and helmet. He'll be fine for the bat slam. And that ends the Atlanta 6th. No runs, a hit, a man left. We head to the 7th. It's 4-4.
But let's take a look at Ziegler's arm slot here. On the first one, on the sinker that Freddie was upset about the call, it looks like his arm slot's a little lower than the next pitch. Let's see. Down under for the sinker. And then it looked like here he flattened his arm angle out, maybe a little more side arm for that slider to turn it into the back door for the called strike.
Good catch, good sequence. Bad result for Freeman.
Yeah, I think Freddie was, I mean, the backdoor pitch was a strike, but I think he's just more upset about the strikeout resulting from a call that he thought was not a strike on the one before.
So to the 7th we go. And Cody Ross will be the Arizona pinch hitter. Kennedy, Harris, and Ziegler have pitched for the Diamondbacks. Now Ross leads things off. Full inning for Alex Wood. He retired Gregorius to end the Arizona 6th. Ross started the game last night, played right field for the D-backs. He struck out and hit into a double play. He's way ahead in the count here, 3-1.
In the winter of 2011, he was a free agent, signed with Boston, but he was kind of putting the word out, letting people know he'd like to play in Atlanta.
And he leads off with a single and is aboard in front of Gerardo Parra.
And I would guess there was probably some interest, but it just didn't work out.
And now he's under contract with Arizona. See the Braves take on the Reds Thursday, July 11th through the 14th. Grab a Dale Murphy bobblehead Thursday night and stay for a post-game concert from the Steve Miller Band on Saturday. Both of those great events sponsored by Coca-Cola and Delta. Visit Braves.com/tickets for all of the details. Parra has an 0-for-3 day. Made a fine catch in foul ground an inning ago. And he's done a good job against left-handed pitching this year, hitting .261. pushes a bunt toward third. Chris Johnson will have but one play, and it's to first and in time. A sacrifice. Ross at second, one out. And Martin Prado, the scheduled hitter, that summons Freddie Gonzalez out of the Braves dugout. He'll play a matchup with the Diamondbacks here in the seventh. A leadoff single and a sacrifice. Arizona has the go-ahead run in scoring position. We'll tell you who the new pitcher will be after this.
Turner Field is like home for me. It's like so many good moments, so many frustrated moments that made me better as a baseball player. Just made me grow up and appreciate baseball and take baseball in a different way and a different level. And Turner Field was like a school for me.
And he's a focus of our Academy Sports and Outdoor Leaderboard. Most hits in the National League since 2009, 723, but he doesn't have one here today as he comes to the plate with a man in scoring position.
Yeah, we hope that continues, Tom.
How about that's a good way of putting it. It's like a school for me. I mean, I don't know if I've ever heard a player speak of a ballpark that way, but well said.
Bats with Ross at second, who has a big lead. One out. Anthony Morrow is on the pitch.
He's had some rest. Anthony has not pitched since the 23rd at Milwaukee, where he picked up a whole 2/3 of an inning. So he should be fresh.
Looping line drive out to second. Flip back to second will be late. And Martin Prado pops out for out number 2. Always good to see Anthony get the first batter he faces. Martin tried to do what we saw so often, just poke the ball in right field, but he hit it too softly to get it past Uglo.
Well, it gives him the option now to pitch around Goldschmidt.
And they will, wisely so. Goldschmidt with 67 RBIs.
Braves have Avilan in the bullpen ready to go with Chavez on deck. Diamondbacks still have some flexibility there too.
Oh, ball in the dirt to Goldschmidt.
Aaron Hill still available on their bench.
So the battle of the bullpens continues. Braves pitch around Goldschmidt. They'll go lefty-lefty with Chavez scheduled. Back to Atlanta in a minute.
Last night, picked up his 6th win, and man, was he outstanding. 6 innings, he gave up 2 runs and struck out 10 guys. He gave up 4 hits, excuse me, no runs, and struck out 10 guys. He said, well, it was Chipper's retirement party. I had to strike out 10, and he struck out the side in his last inning of work to do that. He's the subject of our Volkswagen pitching performance.
Very impressive work. Let's hope it continues for Luis Avilan, who checks in for the 39th time. He's tied for 10th in the league in appearances already. This is the 5th time Avilan has pitched in the last 9 days. All of those appearances, at least 1 full inning. Strike to Chavez.
Chavez just 182 against lefties. Not that many at bats. 2 for 11. He just came off the DL.
Quickly, strike 2.
This is probably the only hitter he's going to face this afternoon. Worked an inning and a third last night. I'm sure Freddie Gonzalez hoping the Braves can score, and then he can go into his 8th and 9th inning guys, Walden and Kimbrel.
Ross single to start the inning. He was sacrificed by Parra. Martin Prado popped out. Goldschmidt was walked. Now Chavez faces an 0-2 pitch in a 4-4 7th inning game. Popped up, foul ground. Chris Johnson on the run, gets there. Arizona strands a pair, and we head to the bottom of the 7th. Still tied 4 apiece.
Georgia Power, by Ram Trucks, and by AT&T. 4-4 game. We head to the bottom of the 7th inning. Well, here's where it gets interesting, because as good as the Braves bullpen has been and as effective as Arizona's has been, this guy hasn't been very effective for the D-backs relief corps.
No, and a ton of home runs. I think I mentioned last night that he had a stretch last week where his last 5 appearances he'd given up a home run in each of those outings. 7 home runs in all. 309 average against him. Awfully high for a guy that's supposed to be your closer. And of course J.J. Putz was their closer, and he's hurt. Activated today, I'm told. I didn't know that, so that's why Bell's working this inning.
6 runs in his last 6 games for Heath Bell. And some thunder coming up for Atlanta. McCann, Ugla, and B.J. Upton. Braves had a couple of leads today, both of them 2-run leads. Couldn't hold either one. Atlanta's left 9 men on base in the first 6 innings. Brian McCann 1 for 2, a double and a walk his last 2 times up. Another Arizona reliever, Joe, with a very unusual motion.
Kind of jumps at you. But if he's not getting that breaking ball over, his fastball becomes very hittable. Good sign for him, and he threw it for a strike.
Most in baseball know of Bell's troubles last year while with the Marlins.
So that home run streak is still ongoing.
Ball, 2 strikes. But Kevin Towers, who knew Heath Bell in San Diego from their days together with the Padres, took a flyer. Bell is signed through 2014, a team option for 2015.
He's not very, not very popular with his catcher right now. I know that. Not after that 52-footer.
Two balls, 2 strikes. And that's taken low, full count.
Throws hard, mid-90s. That pitch 94, but he's got to get that breaking ball over for it to be effective. Listed at 6'3", 250.
Roll to the right side, Goldschmidt. And there's that 3 unassisted play you were speaking of earlier. Brian McCann is out number 1 in the 7th. Goldschmidt made the defensive play. Let's check out the AT&T Universe trivia question and talk about offense for Arizona first baseman, who holds the D-backs single season record for most homers by a first baseman.
Lyle Overbay also played for them, but I don't think he hit enough homers. I'm going to stick with Travis Lee.
And I'll stay with Euribio Durazo.
Oh, yeah.
That guy. Broken bat, fly ball center. Pollock coming on and gets there. 2 outs. That bat split lengthwise, and half the barrel ended up even with the third base bag.
Looked like he was going to drop for a second, but Pollock can cover a lot of ground. Good recovery. Tony Clark, the guy who was the answer to the trivia question, was the second overall pick in the draft one year.
Really?
Mm-hmm. By the Tigers. It's another trivia question. You know who was taken in front of him first?
Joe Simpson.
Last night was a big night. What happened last night?
Oh. Todd Van Poppel? No, the other guy.
Chipper was taken first, Tony Clark second.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't know that.
By the way, Travis Lee was third behind Clark and Adam LaRoche at 25.
That's right.
For them in 2010.
No balls, 2 strikes. They've had some good ones at first base in the D-backs' brief history. They had hoped Travis Lee was going to be a cornerstone for their franchise, but offensively it didn't work out for him in the desert. One ball, 2 strikes. And very high, 2-2. Mark Grace will always be a fan favorite in Arizona. Got the big rally started against the Yankees in the World Series. Hit a cut fastball for a hit. That led to the game winner by Luis Gonzalez. Bell's throwing it all over the place.
You know, we're talking about Montero's just kind of jumping up trying to catch a lot of balls on the short hop. I'm beginning to understand why. He's got to do it about 10 times a game.
Full count for Upton. And a breaking ball takes care of BJ. He strikes out for the second time. And Atlanta's done in order in the 7th.
After 7, 3rd inning for the Braves. Freddie Freeman launched this one off Ian Kennedy to straightaway center field for Freddie, his 8th homer of the year. And then in the 4th inning, the Diamondbacks came right back. Double by Montero and then a clutch base hit by Kubel tied the game. The Braves got some help in the 5th inning. 5 walks in the inning. This one to Ugla forced in 1 run. And then B.J. Upton on an 0-2 count got a pitch that he could hit to the outfield, and played another. That gave the Braves a 2-run lead again. But then with 2 out in the 6th, A.J. Pollock jumped on a hanging slider and hit it out to deep center, also his 6th of the year. So that's where we are, tied at 4. We go to the 8th, and Jordan Walden on to work his 4th game in the last 5 days.
9 left on base for the Braves today, Joe. 6 of them in scoring position. That's one of the frustrating facets for the Braves in game 2. So Walden will try to shut him down in the 8th, as Joe said, and turn things back over to the bottom part of the lineup in the home half of the frame. Montero, Kubel, and Pollock. Foul back, strike 1. Another final in National League play. The Rockies beat the Giants today. That's 2-1 at Coors Field. The Rockies are without Troy Tulowitzki, who's injured. But they're hanging in out west. They started play just 3 games behind the Diamondbacks in the Western standings. Walt Weiss has done a nice job with that Rockies club.
He really has. And I think that was a move in the offseason that raised a lot of eyebrows after Jim Tracy decided to resign. But Walt's a good baseball man. He certainly knows what he's doing, but it's not often.
Uh-oh, Montero drives one deep right center field, and it is gone. Montero turns around a fastball and puts Arizona in front. He's starting to hit like an all-star again, and that's not good news for the Braves. 5-4.
No, and you mentioned last night that he's hit over 300 for like the last 2 weeks. And that was not even a wall scraper. That was launched. First home run of the year allowed by Jordan Walden.
Wow. So the Diamondbacks have their first lead today. And Jason Kubel is the hitter.
Kubel's got that kind of classic left-handed stance, a little bit open. His hands, they're about letter high, but he just invites you. He challenges you to throw him something down and in.
That was a little too far in for his liking, but it was thigh high. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Belfouche, South Dakota. I think that had a lot of history behind it, that town in the Old West with the settlers traveling across.
Swing and a miss by Kubel. All I know is you got to say that team, that town name awfully carefully.
Yeah, but it's a good one. Belfouche. Time for Georgia Power Energy tip number 7. Let's go with Reed Johnson. Number 7. Georgia Power now goes with you wherever you go. You can easily access and manage your account whether you're at home or on your mobile phone.
Belle Fourche is the county seat of Butte County in South Dakota. It's in the Black Hills. And
see that I think that's right. It stuck with me on the Settlers was the Gold Rush days.
Just past Dan Ugla. And A.J. Pollock's aboard with a 1-out hit. Belle Fourche is the geometric center of the United States. Count Alaska and the 48 lower states. That's the exact center of the United States territories.
It's going to challenge that a little bit if you hadn't included Alaska.
Right. And Hawaii, too. You got to throw them in. But Belle Fourche is French.
Really?
Yeah. Bet you didn't know that, Joe. It means beautiful fork.
Okay.
And it's named that for the confluence of what is now known as the Belle Fourche and Redwater Rivers and the Hay Creek.
They had quite a gold rush up there in the Black Hills near that confluence.
Yeah, you could get really geographically off center if you thought about mining for gold at the confluence in Pittsburgh and not South Dakota.
You don't want to do that.
That'd be bad. Really a bad thing. $5,500 people from Kubel's hometown. As Gregorius pops one up left side, foul ground for Chris Johnson. He'll make the play. That's the second out. And the reason I say that, when you think of the miracle it is for anyone to make it to a major league roster, when you think of all the kids from the state of Georgia and how densely populated our state is, here's Jason Kubel, a town of 5,000 people, and he's on a major league roster and playing good ball. That's really cool.
Yeah, and I'm sure their town is super proud of him.
$39,180 the paid attendance today. And Aaron Hill will be called on to pinch hit with 2 outs. Montero's leadoff homer, the first allowed by Jordan Walden this year, has put Arizona in front for the first time today. Don't count out the Braves. These two teams know all about comeback wins. See if the Braves have any of those bullets left with their final 6 outs. Hernandez will come on for the 8th. As Johnson will strike the frame, then the pitcher spot. You saw Jordan Schaefer yesterday, and his ankle was still a mess, huh?
Yeah, I don't know that he's available.
So we'll see what options Freddie Gonzalez has. As a line drive over second is off the bat of Aaron Hill. Arizona has runners at first and third now with 2 outs. They've squared up 3 balls in this inning. It's 3 hits off Walden.
Well, as I said, it's his 4th outing in 5 days, and that's more work than he's had all season. And a quick turnaround after last night. He worked just 2/3 of an inning, which physically, I mean, that's a full inning. Struck out a batter. Needs an out right here to hold it to 1 run.
Here's Parra. He's 0 for 3, but has a sacrifice. And he rolls over the first pitch. Freeman will go to second, and he makes the play to retire the side. Miguel Montero has put Arizona in front. A long home run to right center. Bottom of the 8th inning. 5-4 Arizona lead.
Today from both sides. Nice play here to start the ball game from Freddie Freeman. Nice sliding stop. How about this play by Pollock off the bat of Tim Hudson that almost went out of the ballpark. Pollock ran it down. And then this sliding catch by Parra in right field down the line off the bat of Jason Hayward. Excellent play by Gerardo. That was the Coors Light Freeze Cam, brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light.
So there's David Hernandez, his 34th game this season. And he's going to have to go after the Johnson & Johnson attack for the Braves in the 8th. Chris to start, Reed to pinch hit.
Smith throws hard. But he has allowed 6 runs in his last 7 games after going over a month with an ERA of 0.66.
We saw him for 2 innings out in the desert, and he struck out 4 men. He'll induce a pop-up to Gregorius at short, and Chris Johnson pops up to start the Atlanta 8th. 1 out. Here's Reed Johnson. Another fine year for Reed Johnson off the bench. 7 for 25 in a pinch, including a homer. He's knocked in 4 runs. Bloop and a blast would be nice. Or a hit by pitch.
You take that.
You bet.
Hopefully it got the arm guard. Oh, it got the ribs. Not so good. We did get part of it.
So Andrelton Simmons hits, and he's 0 for 4.
First batter Hernandez rather, has hit this year.
A little over anxious, strike 1.
Just a bad ball, trying to do a little too much there. Had to swing as hard as Hernandez threw it.
Ball one, strike one for Andrelton Simmons. Pop straight back and out of play. We'll do it again. A ball and 2 strikes. It's Kirk Gibson. He's the Arizona skipper. Freddie Gonzalez hoping the Braves can come back in their final 2 at-bats. Driven down the right field line. Parra, long run, and they can't get there. It's 1-2. I can't remember, did Kirk Gibson have managerial experience before he got this job?
No.
So he is sort of a trend. We were talking about Walt Weiss when Montero hit the homer. Weiss hadn't managed anywhere. Mike Matheny hasn't. Gibson hasn't.
Right.
Robin Ventura.
Right.
Sort of a trend that we're starting to see in Major League Baseball.
That's what I was going to say about Walt. When Montero hit the homers, you don't often see a guy hired out of a high school team.
And now Simmons gets hit, and that got him on the funny bone. Back-to-back hit batsmen. 3 Braves have been hit by the Diamondbacks staff today, including Justin Upton. And now the tying run's in scoring position with 1 out.
Again, he hadn't hit anybody all year, but I think he hit them both with breaking balls. This one definitely was, but right on the point, it looked like, of the elbow. And Andrelton may have been happy to take the lump, but he didn't want to take it right there.
Well, let's make this man pay. And the Braves make it 23 comeback wins. They've got a great shot. 2 on, 1 out. And their number 2 hitter up in Hayward. Jason has doubled, walked, and scored today.
Jason's only faced him 1 time, 0 for 1. Good fastball again, but his command off. Just told you that he'd given up a bunch of runs over his last 7 games. Might have been from lack of command. And both the pitches that he hit Johnson and Simmons with were like hanging breaking balls. So if he tries to throw that to a left-handed hitter and it comes to the middle of the plate or the outer third, kind of like it.
Hayward shoots one down the left field line. That's going to get down. Johnson will score. Simmons to third. He'll be stopped. We're tied at 5. Ball gets away. Now Simmons will score standing up.
How did Andrelton see that? That was amazing. Good piece of hitting. Good fastball down and away. Jason goes with it. Another double for him. Second of the day. Here comes the throw in. Andrelton rounded the bag, but now goes off Chavez, and he just broke. I mean, he had to have known somehow that the pitcher wasn't there to back up, and that there was no one there to pick the ball up. When I saw it go off Chavez's glove, I see Snitker out of the corner of my eye, so I thought there was a body there to back up the play, and there wasn't anyone. What a heads-up play by Andrelton.
I mean, immediately he turned and recognized that. There's the pitcher. Hernandez had gone to back up home. What a heads-up base running play by the kid. Wow.
It's a double, 1 RBI for Hayward. Kubel is charged with a throwing error. That allows Simmons to score, and it allows the Braves to take the lead 6-5. And it sets up beautifully for Atlanta. For now, Kimbrel can come on and work the 9th with the lead.
Well, that error should be charged to Chavez. He's the guy that missed it. That wasn't a bad throw.
But a rare Arizona error, and the Braves happy to cash it in. Now Upton, a 2-hit game. 2-hit batsmen, both of them score in the 8th. And a block.
Kirk Gibson was coming out to argue that time had been called, and they're not going to allow the balk because Justin Upton had called time. Brian O'Nora emphatic about it. And there it was. The hand came up before the balk.
Good job by O'Nora to take charge and make the call emphatically and remove all doubt that he got it right. So back to second is Hayward. Shot in the right field. That's going to get down for a hit. Big turn by Jason, but he's not going to challenge Parra's arm. And Justin Upton, 3 more hits against Arizona. And when Hernandez isn't hitting the Braves, they're hitting him.
Yeah, and another good piece of hitting by Justin going the other way. Fastball had the middle of the plate, but he wasn't trying to do too much here. Goes the other way. 3 hits today. Base hit and a walk last night. Things are looking up for Justin too, and Jason Hayward still tearing it up.
Kirk Gibson takes the ball from David Hernandez. His troubles continue. 8 runs in his last 8 games. He surrendered the lead. It's 6-5 Braves.
By Jason Hayward, who continues to tear it up here in June with a big bounce back after a couple of slow months in April and May. Look at that, 15 total hits in April and May, and he's got 32 this month. He had 4 doubles in those first 2 months, and now he's got 8 doubles this month. Kind of like what you're seeing?
I like it.
How about this on the Diamondbacks too? This is a weird stat on these guys. 9-inning games, they have a losing record.
extra inning games, they're 9-2. That's why they're in first place.
Tony Sipp strides in from the bullpen. He's the 5th reliever to work today. Kennedy started, gave up 4 runs in 4 1/3. Hernandez hit 2 batters and leaves with 2 guys on base that belong to him as well.
Sipp was brought in last night to pitch to Freddie Freeman, and Freddie got a base hit. Sipp then retired Brian McCann to end the inning. Big run at third base.
Freeman homered in the 3rd. He had a home run cut. Two in the 3rd, 5th, and 8th for the Braves offense today. Hayward would love to score a 2nd run. Justin Upton with a good lead at first. He's played it 1-2. Outside to even the count. Out to talk to his relief pitcher.
Tough spot for Tony Sipp, because it doesn't really matter what you throw. Freddie Freeman, especially when he's ahead in the count, he's so aggressive. Got to make a good pitch, and the fear of throwing a hanging breaking ball looms.
How big's his strike zone right here?
Small. As good as Freddie hits the ball to left center field, he may be looking for something actually kind of out over the middle of the plate, not necessarily inner third.
He walked it. The bases are loaded.
Montero just pointed out at Sipp, and that might have been what they talked about when Montero went out there. Is, look, we don't have to throw this guy a strike. We got another left-hander coming up, sets up, keeps the force play in place for every base. We're no worse off. We got another lefty, so don't give in to Freddie Freeman, and he didn't.
Going back to what you said earlier, you had a base open at the second base. Well, Brian McCann, though, has 10 career grand slams.
The most recent came in Milwaukee.
Popped up, foul ground, no play for Goldschmidt. Ryan has doubled and walked today. Very long defensive inning for the D-backs. One ball, one strike.
Lefties have never given Brian that much trouble either, but they have this year. He's only hitting a .132 against lefties, 5 for 38, but one of those hits was a homer.
Chopped off the plate, foul. It's 1-2.
really trying to pull the ball on this guy too, and now behind in the count. He's got to guard the plate a little more. Try to get something he can hit in the air to the outfield and drive a run in. Gretchen tells me that the home run Brian McCann hit off a lefty this year was off Tony Sipp in Arizona.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You have to protect here. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Man, what a stop.
What a stop. Montero is earning his money today, and he threw his chest in front of that one. Good play.
Two balls, 2 strikes. A Brave at every base. They've scored 2 in the 8th. Hot shot past Prado, a base hit. Hayward scores up and around. He's going to score after Parra bobbled it. It's 8-5.
He threw that breaking ball so far out in front and in the dirt that you had to figure if you're Brian, he's not going to try to throw that pitch again. He might throw it into the backstop. Got a fastball, and man, oh man, did he square it up. Hit it sharply past Prado. Big 2-run single.
With the bases loaded this year, the Braves as a club have been awfully good. Hitting .404 as a team coming in. That was a big knock. It makes it a 3-run game in the 8th. And now 2 on for Uggla. He takes a ball low. I recall Dan also a former Diamondback. The Marlins got him in the Rule 5 draft. Smoke toward left. Cool ball, can't get it. Freeman scores. McCann will be stopped. Uggla doubles. Charles Nagy, the pitching coach, makes his way to the mound, and the Diamondbacks, Joe, are running out of options and pitchers.
What an inning. Everybody hits. Dan squares up a fastball and hits it over Kugel's head. Brian got a good jump on that. Looked like he was going to try to score, but wisely held up by Brian Snipker. Braves have batted around.
A 9-5 game. Braves with 9 runs on 10 hits. And only 1 home run today. And with the lead now greater than 3, Craig Kimbrell sits down for the Braves. Infield comes in with 1 out for Upton. Ball 2. Arizona will have its 2, 3, 4 hitters up in the ninth. The only question is, how big will the Braves lead be? It stands at 4 runs, 9-5 your score. A 5-run eighth. David Carpenter now begins to prepare for the ninth. High fly ball, right center field. Parra's got the cannon. He stumbles, makes the catch, and has no chance for a throw to the plate. It's 10-5. What an adventure for Parra in the outfield. A bobble, and he nearly fell down making a catch.
He wanted this too. He called off Pollock, and then right here. Uh-oh. The man in the grass got him. But he was able to keep his eye on the baseball and make the catch. But that allowed McCann to score easily.
And Kirk Gibson is going to make another pitching change. 6 runs are in for the Braves in the inning. All of this trouble started with 1 out. Back-to-back hit batsmen opened the floodgates. A double, a single, a walk, a single, a double, and now a sacrifice fly. And the Braves running away up 10-5.
Take a look at tomorrow's Chevron starting pitchers. For the Braves, it will be Paul Mahalem, who looks to rebound from a bad 5th inning in Kansas City last time out. And the Diamondbacks counter with Trevor Cahill. He's really struggled. In fact, he's lost 4 out of his last 5, and that includes an outing against San Francisco. He got tagged for 8 runs in just 3 2/3 innings. Injuries have also been an issue. 2 starts ago, he lasted just 1 inning after taking a line drive off of his hip against Miami. So it'll be Cahill and Mahalem tomorrow. I guess, Chip, that is if they don't have to use Cahill tonight.
Yeah, right. It's been a rough inning for him, hasn't it, Tom? But they get a fresh arm in there with J.J. Putz just back from the disabled list. Chance for him to reacclimate himself in what is now a 5-run Braves game in the 8th.
We talked about Kennedy wondering if he would be a little rusty after his 10-day suspension. We'll find out about Putz here, who needs 1 out coming back from the DL.
Chris Johnson popped out to start the inning. He'll try to keep this inning alive. He's the 10th man to hit.
Something you don't often see with a good closer, and that is his numbers with first batters. He's 2 for 11.
Really?
Retiring them.
Line drive into center field. He didn't get his first batter in this inning either. An RBI single for Chris Johnson. 11 runs on 11 Atlanta hits today.
We've talked a lot about Evan Gaddis, and rightfully so, Chip, about what a great surprise he's been for the ball club. What a pleasant surprise. But how far off Evan Gaddis is Chris Johnson and what he's done for this ball club?
And I hate to use the term a throw-in, but
yeah,
he was sort of a little bit extra in the deal with the Diamondbacks.
He might be flattered to be, referred to as that because of what he's doing now. Like, how do you like me now? We saw him in Houston. We saw that first year he came up, he played well. He hit for a high average, hit I think 10 home runs or something like that in about a half season for Houston. Had good numbers when he first went to Arizona last year. Then didn't finish strong. But man, is he hitting.
So Braves have their biggest run scoring inning of the year in the 8th inning today. They've scored 7 times. 6 was the previous high. And Atlanta a perfect 5 for 5, Joe, with runners in scoring position this inning.
How about that?
Fouled away, 0-2. Woods began his career in the American League. He was a Seattle Mariner and pitched for the Mariners all the way through the end of the 2008 season. Then pitched a season in New York with the Mets, a season with the White Sox. This is his 3rd year with the Diamondbacks. He's had 3 seasons. Beg your pardon, he's had 2 seasons of 40 or more saves in the big leagues.
Well, remember when the Mets got him? However they got him, traded for him, signed him as a free agent. I'm not sure.
Another 3-team trade. They make a lot of those.
Well, but when he went to New York, that was also when they got K-Rod in New York. And it was like, man, oh man, are the Mets loading up with some closers.
And the year before they had Santana, right? It was the same year. Rolled towards short. That will end the inning. What an inning it was for the Braves. They score 7 times. Count them.
It's always a good sign when your pinch hitter bats twice in the inning.
That was the big play. The ball that got away and the run that scored. Maybe it's the game that got away for Arizona. Atlanta 11, Diamondbacks 5 as we go to the 9th. A 7-run 8th inning. And there you see it on our game summary.
7 walks, 3 hit batsmen. 5 of those 10 base runners have scored for Atlanta after the Diamondbacks pitchers put them on base in the middle of the order. Has torn it up today. 6 for 11. Some really good at bats all around and up and down the lineup today.
So a lot of good things to talk about on Braves Live, presented by AT&T. As Atlanta tries to take 2 straight from the Diamondbacks, who lead the National League's Western Division. 2 changes for the Braves. Paul Giannis checks in. He'll play third base. And David Carpenter will come on and try to finish this one off.
Good work for David. Cut down on the walks. He'll be in good stead with his manager and pitching coach. But he's pitched well.
Martin Prado leads it off. He's 0 for 4 tonight. Or today, I should say.
Well, it's tonight now.
Yeah, I was going to ask. When does that officially start? Is it sundown or after 6?
I'm going to go after 6.
Okay, with you.
And we were kind of poking fun at that game in Chicago last night, the 9-inning game that went over 4 hours.
Lined over second. There's Martin Prado at his best. A leadoff hit in the top of the 9th. Here's Goldschmidt. 2 walks, an infield hit, and a run for the Diamondbacks' first baseman. Tom Hart told you it'll be Mahalam and Cahill here tomorrow afternoon. It's 21 games and counting for Arizona without a win by one of their starters. Yet they're still in first place.
That's got to be close to a record, doesn't it?
Inside out swing, fouled to the right by Goldschmidt. He's behind 0-2. Kirk Gibson's club led briefly in the top of the 8th on a Montero homer. But with 1 out, bases empty, David Hernandez hit back-to-back hitters, and Braves went to work. Now running, the pitch a little inside. He'll take second without a throw. No steal. That's ruled defensive indifference. Bounced off the plate. Andrelton charges, tricky hop, stayed with it, made the throw. Runner to third, 1 out.
Sorry, Chip, that was definitely one you don't want to come in and try to bare hand. Get a funny spin. A lot of top spin typically off the plate. And as it turned out, he didn't have to make it barehanded. We talked about all the hits, the hit batters, and the clutch hitting for the Braves in the bottom of the 8th. I still go back to his heads-up base running play that was the go-ahead run. That was amazing, Andrelton.
The ball got away from the man in the batter's box, Eric Chavez. Simmons was able to score standing up without a play to erase a 5-4 deficit, make it a 6-5 Braves lead. talent is one thing in this game. Instinct is something totally different. And what a joy it is to see an instinctive player play with great talent. And Simmons has both. Now at first, Chavez behind 1-2.
David's had a few days off himself. He's actually had a week off. Last time he pitched was in Milwaukee on the 22nd.
And part of a bullpen that's really been reconfigured on the fly because of the injuries to Johnny Venters and Eric O'Flaherty. And to a man, this group has really done terrific work. Two balls, two strikes. And a late swing and a miss by Chavez. That was at 95 on the outer half. Prado at third, 2 outs. Montero's had the big day at the plate. He scored twice. He's homered, he's doubled, and he's knocked in 2. Strike 1.
He's a hot hitter. Hot hitters like to play. They want to stay in there and ride the hot streak. But if he plays again tomorrow afternoon, they may have to give him a medal after the beating he's been taking behind the plate.
The Braves are a strike away. Fly ball center. B.J. Upton drifts back. He's under it, and the Braves have beaten Arizona again. A gigantic home half of the 8th inning saw Atlanta score 7 times and win a real battle of persistence against the first place D-backs. Atlanta's won the series. They'll go for the sweep here tomorrow. Big day for the Bravos. 11-5 your final. We'll recap it in a moment.